Where's Drew?
Where am I? Can you hear
Drew's
me?
box is there.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Drew, where are you?
I don't know.
Uh-oh.
Everything was fine a moment ago.
Well. Yeah, you were just on screen with me before the show, and you were there in person, but now you're not there. You're frozen in the back as well, so you might need to exit real quick and then come back in because it seems it's probably on your end. So why don't you try to get out of here and come back in because you're frozen down the bottom too.
Yeah, let me do that. Yeah.
All right. Hi. Hello. We're gonna wait for Drew to pop back in. But hope everyone is well. Good morning. Love Wrestling. It is firmly Inc. this week. And we are back to the original outlet of me and Drew. Drew is feeling better. But he, when you start to hear him, he still sounds like he's a little under the weather, but he said he's feeling better. It's just kind of lingering. So, but we have a big week to talk about once Drew pops back on here. We had AEW Beach Break last night. That is what we are going to lead with. Today, we are going to lead with AEW and dive into Beach Break from last night. And then we are going to circle back. We are going to go over this past weekend's Backlash. And then we're going to talk about some Raw, and we're going to go from there. And that's what we're going to do. So that is on the docket today. We're just going to wait for Drew to get back in here. So while we do, why don't we go over some house cleaning? Sandy, we don't talk about NXT, brother. Come on now. You've been here long enough. Stop yelling about it. Trust me, I would love to, but
You still can't see me. What the fuck?
No. What are you playing, John Cena?
I guess I should change my name to Timeless John Cena.
Get your shit together, Drew.
My computer, even my camera isn't even recognizing it for some reason. I guess I'm gonna have to restart.
I'm not sitting here by myself.
Well, I have to restart, I guess, in order for my camera to work.
This is why we need to be prepared.
We were prepared. We just saw each other a moment ago.
This is why we need to be prepared. How long is it going to take you to do this? What the hell do I have to do?
Probably like 3 minutes.
All right. Well, oh God, 3 minutes.
I hope.
All right. Well,
I hope it works.
Go do it. See. Go do it, bro.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, you're fine. It's going to be me. It's going to be me. I got people, whatever. But while we're waiting for Drew to come back because his computer is on the fritz, apparently, you know the drill. If you want your comment shown on the screen, if you want us to talk about something that maybe we did not talk about as much in depth as you want, or just in general, send a super chat. You can send that through YouTube. It helps us here at Love Wrestling. It helps the staff here at Love Wrestling. So yeah, if you want your comment shown on the screen, you want us to talk about a certain some within reason, don't be a jerk, don't be inappropriate, because then we're just going to take your money and laugh at you. But if you want to show us a little bit of love, if you can, feel free to send a super chat. Not only does it guarantee that your comment or your question will be shown on the screen, but it also helps the staff here at Love Wrestling. Gives us a little bit, helps us keep going and giving you all this great content that we have week after week here at Love Wrestling. Yeah. So like I said, we're going to start with AEW Beach Break once Drew kind of pops back in here. And then we're going to slide back. We're going to talk a little Backlash, WWE. We're going to talk about the fallout from Backlash on Raw. And then that is going to be our show today. So Scott, welcome in. Sandy, welcome in. Hope you guys are well. Thank you. Appreciate that. Lawrence, maybe. His camera was working perfectly fine. We were chatting for 5 or 10 minutes before the show started. We went live. I put us on screen, and his camera, he was there. We could hear him, but his camera was not showing a damn thing. Not showing a damn thing. So he logged off and logged back on, and we had the same issue. So he is rebooting his computer real quick, and then we're going to go from there. But yeah. So you guys are stuck with me for a few minutes. I don't know what I want to talk about. I'm saving all my real sports takes for the beards tonight because let me tell you, it's been an emotional week. I cried the other night. I'm a grown-ass man. I'm 40. And I cried the other night at a pro sports event. That happened. It's a true thing. Not the first time, not the last time. Your boy will cry at a sporting event. But yeah, that Jason Tatum injury put me in a depression for 2 days. I felt like I lost a family member. I went to work on that Tuesday morning, and I work. I haven't looked at it week by week. I've just saw the teams they play. I feel pretty good about it. I think they're going to be better. I don't think they're going to be. I mean, I do think their schedule, like if those teams are still bad, usually every year you look at the schedule and you're like, but some teams that were bad the year before are good. There's always one or two teams that didn't make the playoffs the year before that make the playoffs, that type of thing. But if I'm just looking at the schedule and assuming that every team is the same way they were last year, which I shouldn't do because the Patriots are going to be better than they were last year, I think the schedule works in our favor. It's a pretty easy schedule, I think. Or a favorable schedule, I would say. Maybe not easy, because I don't think really any game is easy. But I feel like it's a favorable schedule. The Celtics did look good last night. They look like they stepped up. Well, you know why they looked good last night, Scott? Because they were driving the ball to the hoop. That's why they look good. They still shot a shit ton of threes, because that's what they do. They still shot like 49 or 40-something threes, but the threes were pick and roll to an open shot or driving to the hoop and kicking it out to an open three. It wasn't just, all right, let's take the ball up and just stop at the three-point line and shoot a three. There were like actual designed things happening, which was nice. Oh, I see him. He's alive. Great. All right, he's here. So I think that was the difference last night, Scott, between obviously Monday. The loss at the end of the game didn't even matter because of what happened to Jason Tatum. But last night they looked better. Celtics in 7. They're still beating the Knicks. The Knicks are trash. All right, anyway. So, okay. Let's move forward. Let's move forward. Drew is here.
Guess what? We are now reporting live from my Twitter account.
Oh, are you? You put that in there?
Booyah.
All right, rock and roll. Hopefully that helps. Do you think it will help? We'll see. But yes, if you want more of my real sports takes, we'll be talking about that on Beards, because I got some things to discuss. It's been a rough week for your boy. It's been a rough week. We're sad this week. But you know what didn't make me sad was the week of wrestling that we had this week. And we are going to start what went down. They call it Chicago. It's not Chicago. But what went down in Illinois last night for AEW Beach Break. Technically, it's Hoffman Estates. It's a good 25 minutes outside of Chicago, but you know how they roll. And everybody does it. It's Chicago. So that's where we were for Beach Break. Obviously, a packed show, as they had made this a giant show, headlined by what we'll talk about in our main event, a steel cage match, the first ever steel cage match for the AEW championship that occurred at the end of this show. But this show also kicked off with quite a match. We saw Can They Coexist match in AEW to kick off this show. What is going on, Fernando?
Good morning. Hello.
It was Hangman, Adam Page, and Will Ospreay, the two men that will be facing each other in the finals of the Owen Hart Foundation Cup tournament at Double or Nothing in just a few weeks, going up against the Don Callis family, who were represented by Konosuke Takeshita and Josh Alexander. I will say there was a camera shot early on. I don't think the camera was supposed to catch it. But Hangman and Will Ospreay were like chumming it up in the ring and like laughing at each other.
I don't know if do you watch it on PBS or Max?
Last night I had to watch it on delay because I wasn't around until after the show ended. So I watched it on delay on the TBS or TNT recording, whatever channel it was. TBS, right? It was on the TBS recording.
You also saw that weird thing where they did like the live picture-in-picture commercial thing, and it was showing both.
Yes.
At the same time?
Yes.
So something was going on with the cameras.
Yeah, it's very weird. It was very weird. But like, so Will Ospreay opens the show. He comes out, getting the crowd riled up. Hangman comes out. And then the Don Callis family music hits. And I think they're supposed to be showing the stage, but they showed the ring. And like Ospreay and Hangman were talking to each other, and they just started giggling with each other. And I was like, I don't think that was supposed to be shown on TV, because the next time they were shown on TV, they were doing the thing where they could, we don't trust each other type stuff. I'm like, well, you guys were just giggling like schoolboys on the playground like 30 seconds ago. So anyway, that's not a critique. I actually laughed. I thought it was funny, but I was like,
no, I thought it was funny too.
I was like, I'm pretty sure that shouldn't happen. But either way, this was a very good opener, Drew. Very good opening match, as you would expect with these four guys. I mean, come on. We saw these. This was good too, because not only is it the Callis family and the two finalists, but these were the semifinal matchups. This was Will Ospreay versus Takeshita on one side, and then a first round matchup with Adam, because the semifinal was Fletcher. But Adam Page and Josh Alexander fought each other. So these are two guys that fought each other in the Owen tournament, and now they're going against each other. Johnny, what is going on, man? Welcome in, brother. Good morning. So that was pretty good. But this opening tag match here was really, really good. There were a couple spots throughout the match where there was some miscommunication, as you would expect, as you are used to when they do these Can They Coexist. AEW doesn't do a lot of the Can They Coexist tag team matches, but this was one of them. But all in all, just a very fun opener, fast-paced. Obviously, you knew once it broke down later in the match, it was going to be all four guys getting their shit in, looking good, feeling good. It got the crowd riled up. A good opening bout between these four guys that resulted in Hangman and Will Ospreay. They hit this very cool combination buckshot, hidden blade. They did it like a combo on Josh Alexander. It was very cool.
That looked devastating.
Yeah, really good.
Really like that a lot.
Yeah, really good finish. And Adam Page and Will Ospreay get the victory. Obviously, there's some stuff that happens after that we'll get to in a minute, but talk to me about this tag match and how you thought the opening match went, Drew.
Yeah, really, they're just real. I actually enjoy Hangman and Will as a tag team. Didn't think I would.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I didn't think that I would, because you could put anybody together.
Yeah. I think we could have been out there with them, and I think it would have worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd be in a hospital afterwards, but
I mean, I would have been victorious. I don't know about you, but
there's it's going to be fun to see what I kind of listen. I'm going to be honest with you. I know everybody's saying, "Oh, it's going to be Will at All In." I kind of want it to be Hangman.
There's no kind of for me. I think the majority of us want it to be Hangman. I just don't think it's going to be.
I've seen a lot of people talking about it being Will and them wanting it to be Will.
Look, and that's fine. Will Ospreay is as over as it gets too. Like you can't lose, no matter who you pick. I feel like, and either side, you can't lose. Yeah, I mean, I want Adam Hangman Page because I do think he's been my favorite guy in AEW for a long time. I think he's the main character of AEW. I think he's the best story they've told since day one of the company. I think the crowd overwhelmingly wants it to be Hangman, but I do think it will be Will Ospreay, and I do think they're going to put Will Ospreay as the guy that finally dethrones what we got going on in the world title picture. That's what I think they're gonna do. I feel like they would be stupid if they didn't.
Honestly, I think I may have said this once before. I honestly feel that
I disagree, Maria. I feel like the IWC is about 50-50. Maybe a little bit more slightly in Hangman's direction. Hangman is well more loved than Will Ospreay.
I feel like we have a better chance of our current championship deal ending with Hangman in the match than Will, personally.
Fair.
I feel like I am absolutely not expecting Will to win at all.
I just think that would be, again, I understand why you would have that mindset because of how we've seen this go since it's happened. But if you're putting Will Ospreay in that match at All In and you have him lose, you are basically like, that just would be, I don't know the proper word. I don't want to be over dramatic about it. That to me would be a potential company killing decision. Potential to me. And that's overreacting, but that's how I would feel about it. That's it. And I want Hangman to win. I don't want Ospreay to win. I want Hangman to win. But no matter who it is, at All In, at your biggest show, if you don't pull that trigger, that is a detriment to your company. Johnny, I think it is going to be Ospreay. That's why Drew's the one leaning, or says he said he wanted it to be Hangman, which I do too. I don't know if he meant he thinks it's going to be Hangman. That's different. I don't think it's going to be Hangman at all, but I want it to be Hangman.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be Hangman, which is what is.
And I think Scott nailed it. I think Scott nailed it. I think the Young Bucks are not. There's going to be other things that occur that cost Hangman that match at Double or Nothing. I think something's gonna. Again, they could just have a one-on-one and it'll be fucking incredible. And Ospreay can just beat him because Ospreay has been presented as that guy. Ospreay's they're both good guys. You know, like they're both baby faces. Ospreay has been presented as the guy who wins great matches and overcomes everything and all this stuff. So there necessarily doesn't have to be. I think if Hangman loses a straight up 25-minute war to Will Ospreay, that doesn't make anybody look bad.
Oh, no.
Like there doesn't need to be a distraction or anything like that. At all. MJF is busy with other things, Fernando. I don't think he's going to be involved. So
no, I would have said he would, but after
last night, which we'll get to, I don't think MJF's going to be involved. MJF will be dealing with the champion after All In. Whoever the champion is after All In, I expect MJF to be one of the first, if not the first challenger. Because he's kind of sprinkled his toes or dipped his toes in the water with all the guys that are fighting for the championship. So I expect him to be the first, maybe not the first challenger for the champion, whoever that is after All In, but the first main program whenever they get to it is going to be MJF, is my opinion, for the world title after All In. But yeah, so great opening tag match. Hangman and Ospreay get the win, but post-match, Takeshita runs in. He attacks Will with the jumping knee. Alexander hops back in the ring. They're beating down Ospreay because Hangman is kind of down and out in the corner. Will then fights back. He hits a hidden blade on Alexander. He hits a dragon suplex on Takeshita. And then Hangman kind of comes from behind him, and he thinks it's played it out that Ospreay thought it was Josh Alexander, so he ends up walloping Hangman with an elbow, just crushes him with an elbow. Hangman obviously does not like that, and Will's trying to explain, like, no, I thought you were somebody else, blah blah blah, and they're getting in each other's face. They're kind of squaring off, but Will decides, like, he doesn't try to attack. He just leaves. He's like, I'm getting out of here. He decides to be the bigger man. And that is how this opening tag match and post-match thing ends. So we get a little bit of confrontation here leading to the go-home week next week for Double or Nothing. I thought this was good, Drew. I thought the tag match was fun. I thought the post-match stuff was good. Looking forward to see what they do on the go-home show next week before we get to Double or Nothing.
I just wanted to point out, it's been so great to see Josh Alexander. It's been so great to also see Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey consistently on television every week since they were signed. It's really it's a genuine great thing to see, and in high profile matches as well, because everyone constantly gets worried about, oh yeah, you get signed to AEW, you're on TV for 2 weeks and then you're off, and you don't see them again. So it's been genuinely awesome to see them consistent.
Yeah, they've been doing it pretty well, because they've been doing it with Megan Bain as well. Like, Megan Bain has been on TV almost every week, whether on one of the shows, Collision and or Dynamite. She's been on television every week since she's shown up. They've done a great job with Speedball. They've done a great job with Kevin Knight. So I agree, because it always did feel like that. Oh, shit. Oh, a big signing. All right, cool. And they showcase them for a few weeks, and then it's like, oh, where are they? It happened with Ricochet a little bit right at the beginning. Like, it was just, because we're going to get into Ricochet shortly here, but like it was, I feel like they're kind of really getting in a good groove with showcasing new arrivals, new talent, people they want to push. I feel like as a whole, they're getting a lot better at properly giving these boys and girls a good push, the people that are new. We had a backstage interview with Top Flight. Dante Martin is yelling at MJF in the camera. He says, you want to stick your nose in our business? I might just bite it off. And then Darius says, hey, last week, before all that stuff, we didn't go out there to call MJF out. We went out there to challenge Hurt Syndicate for those tag titles. And he says, you might not be counting us out, but all it takes is 3 seconds, and we want a shot at those tag titles. Then Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara roll up. They are the Ring of Honor tag team champions. And they kind of gave Top Flight a pep talk. Dustin Rhodes was basically like, you'll be underestimated, but I believe you have what it takes, and they'll be watching, and blah, blah, blah. So that was a nice little thing in the back there.
I just noticed how much lighter I got when I switched to a light.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looked like you didn't have lights on at all.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have dark mode on?
So
dark mode.
I don't know if this was the case for you, but when I logged into StreamYard, it's on dark mode.
Yeah.
It is for you.
Yeah, it's on dark mode for me, which I prefer.
I prefer that, absolutely. But then I also have Twitter on dark mode. So
I have everything on dark mode.
That's when this happens.
Yeah. I have everything on dark mode.
When I'm on any other thing that's not on dark mode, this happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Dark mode forever and ever. All right. We then had Ricochet versus Zach Gowen. Now, if you're not too familiar with Zach Gowen, he was clearly he's a one-legged wrestler. He was in WWE for a little bit. Had a famous match with Brock Lesnar where he got thrown around, and but he was in WWE for like a little bit.
So, and I just want to make it clear, he also had one leg in WWE as well.
Yeah, he's all oh yeah.
Okay.
So I think they said when he was little, it was a complication of something. I don't remember. Maria, I don't know what you were watching. This match was a good time. Again, subjective, but I enjoyed this match tremendously. I thought this match was a lot of fun.
Because this wasn't about Zach Gowen.
No,
this was about Ricochet.
Yeah, this whole thing was about Ricochet.
How much of an evil bastard
he is. But I thought this match was a lot of fun. So we saw last week on Collision Ricochet had a match, and after the match, he went into psycho mode, and he was beating up some security guards, and he was cutting a security guard's hair. And Zach Gowen, who was in the front row, had enough of it, and he jumped the rail, and he went in there to kind of, stop Ricochet from being a piece of shit. And Ricochet beat him up, and he ripped off his prosthetic leg, and he kind of hobbled his way on it up the ramp and kind of kept the leg. So then we found out that they were going to be fighting tonight. So Ricochet comes out, leg in hand, and Zach Gowen comes out on crutches, and then we had ourselves a match. Not a long match, but I thought it was good. I thought Zach Gowen looked really good for a guy that I personally hadn't seen wrestle in a long, long time.
I'd never seen him wrestle.
Yeah, so. He looked good. But like you said, this match wasn't about, like, if you went into this match expecting it to be like, don't get me wrong, it was competitive. That's right, Scott. It was cancer. I knew there was something. Gowen had cancer when he was young, and it took the leg. I knew it was a complication of something. I just didn't want to misspeak on it. But it was a little competitive, and you could tell that throughout the match, Ricochet was getting more annoyed and more annoyed and more annoyed and more annoyed because he thought, I'm fighting a one-legged guy. I should beat him in 10 fucking seconds. And that was not the case. Because Zach Gowen was a really above average wrestler, even with one leg. And I thought it was really good. I thought kind of the tornado DDTs he was going for, the story they were telling of Gowen continuing to kick out, 450 splash, kicks out, shooting star press, kicks out. At one point, Ricochet goes for the scissors because he's so fed up with this guy. He's like, you know what, fuck it. And he just takes the scissors out, but Rick Knox, actually acting like a referee for the first time in his AEW career, he takes the scissors away. And while he's distracted, though, Gowen grabs the leg because Ricochet had the leg in the corner. The whole time I was just like, I don't think he wrestles with the leg even when he had it. I was like, just go take the fucking leg. Just go grab the leg and put it back on.
There was one point where Ricochet was like all the way.
Yes, I'm like just go grab the leg and put it back on.
Stage, and Gowen is just there, standing there, and his leg is literally right next to him.
Just grab the leg. Grab the leg. But he grabs the leg. He hits Ricochet over the head up with it, and we get a close 2 count, which I thought was a good little spot. Gowen then gets fired up. He tries to go for his 1-foot moonsault. But he misses, and then Ricochet lines him up and hits him with the spirit gun to get the victory. I don't think anybody is shocked that Ricochet got the victory.
No. Although for a moment, I almost thought that Zach Gowen was going to win.
Yeah.
Which would have been incredible.
Yeah, and then post-match is really where you kind of saw the evil streak. Good morning, Zach. How you doing, my man? Welcome in. The post-match is where you kind of just saw the evil streak from Ricochet continue. Because you beat the guy. He's a one-legged guy, He fought, but he's a one-legged guy. He's down and out. You just beat him. And Ricochet just attacks him some more. Hits him with beats him up a little bit, hits him with the penalty kick. And it looks like he's going to keep on going in, but we see Mark Briscoe run down. And Mark Briscoe chases off Ricochet. And then Ricochet tries to grab the leg again, but Briscoe kind of grabs it. Yeah. He's like, nah, dude. So it looks like, obviously, I would think on either Collision or next week on Dynamite, or I don't know if this is the match for Ricochet at Double or Nothing, if they want to do that, just to have him on the card. I'm not sure. But it looks like we're obviously going to be getting a Mark Briscoe versus Ricochet match here soon, which will be a match that Ricochet will win. Although Mark Briscoe does have a pinfall victory over Ricochet. Mark Briscoe did beat him, which was kind of a shock not too long ago.
Was that when he was heel?
Yeah, it was one of those matches where they were fighting, and I was like, oh, this is going to be an easy match for Ricochet. This is going to be one of those Mark Briscoe matches where it was like a month ago or so.
Was it a C2 match?
I don't know. I think it was more recent than that. But I thought it was yeah, it was a few weeks ago. Yeah, okay. They had a match, and it was one of those matches. We talked about it on here. It was one of those matches where I was like, oh, this is going to be one of those, Mark Briscoe's great. Everyone loves him. His matches are always fucking awesome. So I was like, this is going to be one of those matches where this is going to rule. Mark Briscoe's going to rule. Ricochet's going to rule, and Ricochet's going to win. But Mark Briscoe upset him. He beat him. And that kind of turned Ricochet even more psycho. a little bit. So this is kind of like, yeah, he came out to save Zach Gowen, but of all the guys in AEW, Briscoe actually has a pinfall victory over Ricochet. So it kind of makes sense on that end as well. So listen, every time Mark Briscoe is wrestling on my screen, I have a good time.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I have a good time. So I'm looking forward to this. But I thought for what it was, which if you were going in there expecting big things, I think that's more on you. But for what this was, I thought this was a pretty good thing that they did with Gowen here, getting an old veteran who's really, really a one of a kind type guy. It's a very rare thing. Obviously, we don't see that often. He's kind of a trailblazer in that sense. I thought it was good for what it was, Drew.
Yeah, because again, it's more selling the vicious, evil side of Ricochet, the one-legged guy.
Yeah.
You want to give him a normal person would want to give him some empathy and not rip his leg out of socket, so to speak, and beat him down with it, and then also keep beating him down after winning the match. Like, all right, you won the match, pal. You can walk away. You're done. But no, he's got to keep beating him up and beating him up. So
I love it.
It works, and it's the greatest iteration of Ricochet I have ever seen.
It's very good. It's very good. We then had a backstage interview with MJF. He's talking to Renee. He says he doesn't like working hard and he doesn't want to wrestle unless he knows he can win. And if he gets to be a part of the Hurt Syndicate, he knows the variables will be reduced dramatically. And he has a chance to get back to the world title and all this stuff. And then Renee asks him a very simple question. She goes, hey, MJF, have you thought about what will happen when you go out there if the answer is no? And you can see MJF's whole facial expression just changes immediately. And he just goes from being the cocky MJF to kind of like, no, I didn't think about that. Like, oh, am I in trouble? Am I in danger? Like what could happen? And right as he does that, the Hurt Syndicate MVP rolls up. He tells Max, he says, after our match tonight, it is imperative that you join us in the ring. And Bobby Lashley is smiling, and he just goes, oh, this is going to be fun. And the Hurt Syndicate just kind of leaves, and MJF is kind of like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. So I thought that was a nice little segment here. And then that leads right into a tag team championship eliminator match. It was the Hurt Syndicate versus Top Flight. Top Flight start off hot. They start off with all their double team moves. They have Hurt Syndicate on the brink very early. They're hitting a lot of their high flying, fast paced offense real quick, but not shortly after they get their flurries in. The Hurt Syndicate sink their teeth in. And this was not a long match at all. And the referee has to stop the match as Bobby Lashley has the Hurt Lock on Dante Martin. I'm sorry. After the match, Lashley puts the Hurt Lock back in, and he will not let go.
Oh, he's vicious with that.
Yeah, he's swinging him around, not letting him go. And that leads to Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara coming out. Dustin asks Bobby if he thinks he looks like a badass when he does stuff like that. He goes, but actually, you just look like an ass. MVP says, hey, man, I have a lot of respect for you, for Rhodes and your father. I was tight with him. And he goes, and because of that, I'm going to hold my killers back from leaving you laying in a puddle of your own blood right now. And he goes, what do you want? Why are you out here? And Rhodes, says, it's obvious what we want. And they kind of hold up the Ring of Honor. So it looks like they want champion versus champion. That's what that was the gist that I got there. And as all this is going on, Crew come from back. And they come out and they're like, we don't mean any disrespect to anybody, but we've been coming out here week after week scouting the tag team competition. We beat Top Flight. And then Leo Rush, he goes, hey, Bobby, what's up, man? And I was like, do it. I was like, do it. Lashley.
I was hoping. I was so hoping.
I was like, do it. But he didn't. He said, but in respect of what we have with our past together, can we get why don't you give Crew a title shot? So he's kind of leaning into their past together, but he won't do the Lashley. I need him to do the Lashley thing.
Talk for a moment. I'm going to hear you, but I'll be right back.
Yeah. I really need Leo Rush to do the Lashley thing at some point, guys. I just need it. Just once. I would say their booking has, Scott. I don't think they have. I think they showed in the first 60 seconds of this match that they haven't missed a beat. But I would think their booking, most of the tag team booking is kind of not, So yeah, Crew asked for a title shot. Dustin Rhodes then turns his attention to Crew, and he says, "You're not jumping the line. I'm going to teach you some respect for their." He goes, "I'm going to teach you some respect for their elders." They start arguing with each other, and then MVP just basically is like, "All right, enough." He goes, "I got other business to tend to." He goes, "If you want whatever, you guys have a number one contenders match on Collision, and the winner gets the shot at Double or Nothing." So on Collision, it's going to be Crew versus Dustin Rhodes and Guevara. The winners will go lose to the Hurt Syndicate at Double or Nothing. That's what we're getting there.
See, I liked that part of it, but I was just like, can we get I was waiting for the MJF stuff. So it's like, so you just expected after Hurt Syndicate won that MJF was coming out, but then Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara come out, and then Action Andretti and Leo Rush comes out. I was like, okay. It's like, all right,
Well, yeah, I'm looking. They need a title match at Double or Nothing. They need one. I think their big title match that they're building to is not going to be happening for a little bit, which we'll talk about who I think the big title match that they'll eventually have. We'll talk about those gentlemen a little bit later on in the evening. But yeah, Fernando, that's part of the problem when it comes to the tag team division in general. We have this big moment with Private Party last year where they win the titles for the first time in 5 years. And then they have a nothing reign with barely any defenses. They lose to the Hurt Syndicate, and we have barely seen them since.
We haven't seen them. So
yeah, that is a problem.
They've been doing other. I think they did the House of Glory. They've been doing other shows outside of AEW.
Yeah,
it's upset. It is upsetting to me because I'm biased. Number one, because they're local to me. Mm-hmm. Number one, and two, they were so moved by winning the tag titles and mentioning the wrestling club, that group of kids here in Brooklyn that are pretty popular. Yeah. They've had a lot of very famous wrestlers show up here. Mm-hmm. New Day, Mercedes, I think Willow has even shown up.
Yeah, Willow, yeah.
Like so many wrestlers have shown up, and Private Party, who grew up right around the corner from that school, and they talked about how the representation matters and how they were so honored to be able to hold the tag team championships in that media scrum after they won the titles. And nothing really of note happened with the title reign.
Yeah, because it wasn't. That was booked to have that moment. It wasn't booked for. And it wasn't booked to have Private Party become a top tag team in the division. It was just booked to have the moment. They did the same shit with Daniel Garcia.
Yeah,
the same shit. Oh, let's get these two great moments on this show and then not give a fuck about what happens after them. Again. I think as a whole, AEW has been a lot better when it comes to booking and making stories. They've been a lot better. They've been on a really good run for the last 2+ months, in my opinion. But there are still glaring, things like that still get in the way. That's just what's going on. So yeah, on Saturday, we're going to have a tag match, Crew versus Dustin and Guevara. The winner will face Hurt Syndicate at Double or Nothing. And then we get to the MJF stuff. MJF's music hits, but he doesn't come out right away. So MVP says, "Hey, Shelton, go find him and bring him out here." So Shelton kind of runs to the back, and we see Tony Khan in the gorilla position. He's sitting at the table, and Tony Khan's pointing. He's going, huh, huh. And then we see this other guy sitting next to Tony, and you just see MJF kind of rise up above that guy. It looks like he was hiding, so he is nervous, thinking about what could happen. But that's it. So Benjamin grabs him by the neck. I thought it was a funny spot too, Fernando. He brings him down the aisle. He gets in the ring. MVP says, we've had the discussion. We know what's coming. He goes, so once again, thumbs up from me. He goes, Shelton. Shelton gives him another thumbs up. And then it's Bobby's turn. And Bobby has a big shit-eating grin on his face. He walks over to the corner. He puts his arm around Max. And you can tell Max is like scared shitless about what's going to happen. And Bobby does, he teases going down, he teases going up, he teases going down, and MJF's like, come on, man, come on. And then
you notice he had a thumbs down shirt also.
Yeah, he had a thumbs down shirt.
That's
and then
so
finally,
funny.
Bobby gives the full thumbs up to MJF's surprise. Bobby accepts him. MJF is in the Hurt Syndicate. MJF does a running jump and like cradles his legs around Bobby. He's like, we did it, Bob. And Bobby shoves him to the ground. He's like, don't. Bobby's like, don't make me regret this shit immediately. Do not do that to me. But MJF was really good. He starts yelling at the crowd, we hurt people, starting a we hurt people chant. Shelton and Bobby are actually laughing like they're like having a good time as MJF is kind of starting the chant with the crowd. And then MVP gets on the mic and he says, next week we'll have an official contract signing to induct Max into the Hurt Syndicate. And they raise MJF's hands, and that's it. So MJF he has to sign the contract, I assume, to make it official. But MJF has been accepted, thumbs up from all three members. So it looks like MJF is the newest member of the Hurt Syndicate. It took a while to get here, Drew, but we are here with MJF and this Hurt Syndicate.
So it's interesting because originally when this started, we immediately were like, oh yeah, MJF is playing them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's the case anymore. It doesn't, I would say, especially with this last night's segment, Sinner, who hasn't graced us with his presence yet, but he said last night what he was expecting was Bobby finally gives him the thumbs up, and then MJF starts celebrating, but then MVP says, no, you need a thumbs up from everybody in the Hurt Syndicate. And then MJF is like, what do you mean? I got my thumbs up. And then Cedric Alexander debuts.
Yeah.
So it's got to be that next week now, because now next week is like there's now he has to sign a contract.
And then
this time he's had to have a thumbs up. Now he has to sign a contract.
And then there was a sequence later on where MJF and MVP were in the back with Renee, and they were talking about the contract signing, and MJF said, oh, I just need to have my lawyer, Mark Sterling, look over the contract. And MVP was like, look over the contract. Like MVP was like questioning, oh, you're going to look over. So that tells me that maybe there was a plan in place where that contract was going to have some shady shit in that contract towards MJF.
Right.
And the fact that MJF is smart enough, even though he's a heel, he's smart. MJF, and he even says to MVP, he's like, he goes, you're a smart guy, MVP. He was like, you're a smart guy, MVP. Like, would you ever sign a contract without having legal representation look at it? And MVP's like, no. Like, MVP's almost like, I should have known you would do that. Like MVP seemed like he was not upset, but he was like, oh, fuck, like I'm an idiot. I should have known that Max is smart enough to. Yeah. It felt like there's some shit going on.
Yeah.
Here.
But yeah, Johnny, I think his 90 days was up either
Yeah,
this
no,
week or last week.
it was up before last week's Dynamite. So I think again, I don't think there's 100% guarantee that Cedric Alexander's going there. There was some real shit between Tony Khan and his wife, Big Swole. Real serious stuff. Now, does that mean that he's definitely not going there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But, you know, I think we all want Cedric Alexander to be a part of the Hurt Syndicate. It just feels right. If Cedric Alexander was a part of the Hurt Syndicate, that's what we want.
But this could also be like Shane McMahon is the leader of the Death Riders.
Yes. I feel like the wrestling community, especially the internet one, we are doing that thing again where we are just assuming something is going to happen. And then if it doesn't happen, half of us are going to be whining like bitches on the internet. Nobody has hinted towards Cedric Alexander joining the Hurt Syndicate at all. Do we all want it to happen? Yes, we do. Do we all think it should happen? Yes, we do. But nobody has hinted towards it. Nobody has reported it. It is just the IWC thinking something is definitely going to happen. And what happens when the IWC thinks that something definitely is going to happen and it doesn't is they turn into a bunch of bitches about it. So I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything because I don't know. All right. I have my opinions of what I think will happen, but I'm not jumping in and just creating things just to create them.
It doesn't help though. And I will say it doesn't help when the story being presented on TV, you could logically lead to the thing that people want happening.
Yes, and that's Drew. If you're asking me right now, do I think Cedric Alexander is going to show up at some point? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But I have no reason to believe that that is definitely going to happen. Now, I am also not one of those people in the IWC that if it doesn't happen and he never shows up, I'm not going to be like, ugh, and get angry at Tony Khan about it. Like it's his fault. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's just not who I am. That's just not who I am. Because what happened? And again, I get it. The Death Riders are not a good example because that story is whatever. But everybody created this thing months and months and months ago because most of it is trash, Maria. Most of it is trash. Fucking most, not the people that are here, but most of the IWC, most are tribalistic, bullshit, only thinking about negatives, only complaining. They could have a 2-hour great show with one bad segment and they're fucking writing paragraphs of tweets about the bad segment. It's all great. I don't have time for it. That was a sidebar. But if you're asking me if I think Cedric Alexander is going to show up, yes, I do. I think he is going to show up at some point and join the Hurt Syndicate. I think it makes sense for him to do so. But again, until I know or see it with I'm just not. I feel like a lot of people are already at the stage where they're just assuming it's an inevitability. And I am not there. I am never going to say that anything is inevitable because that is where your mindset for a lot of people turns into, oh, this is definitely happening. And then it doesn't. And for some reason, nobody ever blames themselves. They blame other people and it just turns into a bunch of nonsense. That's how I feel about that. But I agree with you, Drew. I do feel like they are setting up the stages that it does feel like there is something bigger going on here, especially with MVP's reaction when MJF mentioned the lawyer. And Mark Sterling. Yeah, good.
I'm definitely expecting him to get a fake contract now.
I'm expecting him to get a different contract than what they were originally going to give him. Because that's what it felt like to me. It felt like MVP was like, oh, you're like once MJF said he was getting the lawyer, MVP was like, shit. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it feels like they're going to have to
so he's going to
contract or something.
MVP is going to give Smart Mark Sterling.
So you think he'll give him here's what we're giving him.
The contract that does not show that any
that could happen. That would be that would be good.
Oh, Lou just flung that door open.
Draw kicked that door open, bro. Damn, Lou. You all right? Everything all right out there? Oh, Oh, see, he's a tyrant, but he loves me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, I agree. That would actually be. That's actually a good call. I think I would like that. If he's like, oh yeah, so that way Sterling is like, oh, I read through the contract, everything looks good, and then MJF doesn't even look at it, just signs it. All right, my lawyer said it's good. Boom, boom, boom. And then MVP is like, what if they make him like their servant or something? Could they do that?
I mean, I'm not expecting it to be that he's just one of the boys.
Yeah, like would they make him like not like a butler? That's like too fucking corny. But like, you know what I mean? Like, could it be like, hey, you're our bitch boy, basically. You're gonna be our bitch boy,
right? Like
kind of thing.
And so going back to what we were saying before, it didn't seem like this was going to be what was happening in the beginning. It seemed like MJF was trying to infiltrate so that eventually FTR could come in and take the tag title.
And I think that will still happen. I think that is still the end game is MJF eventually, however long this goes and whatever way we get there. I think MJF is going to cost the Hurt Syndicate the tag titles and FTR will beat them for them. I think that's the end, whether that's at All In or whatever. And then I think once the tag titles are off the Hurt Syndicate, that's when we get the MJF Bobby Lashley one-on-one kind of.
Yeah. When this angle started, we were talking about, okay, so eventually the long game is FTR versus Christian and Copeland.
Yes, which will be the long game after they win the tag titles.
Right. So it would assume then that FTR are not going to be in the title picture until after Double or Nothing.
Which makes sense because they have other things going on, which seems like we're going to get a tag match with them at Double or Nothing.
Right.
Which we'll talk about in a little bit.
So they're stretching it out a little bit in a logical way. And I like it.
Yeah.
Because I was just expecting, okay, MJF is playing MVP and the Hurt Syndicate and FTR are just going to swoop in, but they changed the perception of it to now the Hurt Syndicate are the ones that are in control. They're the ones playing MJF. And at some point, whether it be at this contract signing or a Double or Nothing, there's going to be an implosion there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming this will lead to an MJF and Bobby Lashley match, right?
That's what I think. Like, that's what I think. But I think the tag titles will be off the Hurt Syndicate before we get there. Again, I don't know how the timeline's going to work because we have Double or Nothing next Sunday. Then there's a one in June, right? And then All In is in July.
Is it next Sunday?
Yeah, it's a week from Sunday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then there's another one in June, though, right? There's a different pay-per-view in June, and All In is
no, it's not July it's not a. I don't think it's a pay-per-view. I think it's so they're doing this like summer blockbuster.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because they're doing Fyter Fest and then summer blockbuster, right?
Yeah.
So they're having like a couple major dynamites, like themed pay-per-view dynamites, kind of like Beach Break, kind of was, So they're doing. So there's no pay-per-view between Double or Nothing and All In then.
Correct. And so they're doing Arena Mexico. They're doing Grand Slam, but that's going to be a Dynamite because that's on a Wednesday. They're doing Grand Slam Mexico. I believe that's mid-June, I want to say.
Okay. So we have like a bunch of special Dynamites, basically, is what
I could tell you right now.
That's what we're saying. Yeah, Dynasty was April 21st. Double or Nothing is May 20. No, that's not the right year because we are in. No.
Okay, I got it. Okay. All right. So Double or Nothing is next Sunday.
Yes.
Then there's Fyter Fest June 4th, Wednesday, June 4th.
Yeah.
Summer Blockbuster is the following week, June 11th. Okay. And then Grand Slam Mexico is the week after that, June 18th.
All right. So there's like 3 major Dynamites in a row.
And
then All In is July.
That's 12th. Not all, though.
Yeah.
There's also the Dynamite 300th episode. That's July 2nd.
Okay.
So there's 4.
And then All In is what? The 11th? The 12th?
All In is the
13th?
12th.
12th. Are we really gonna do Dynamite celebrate every 100th episode of Dynamite? Is that what they're gonna do? Is that a thing?
I guess.
Okay.
Did they? Oh yeah, they celebrated 200.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They celebrated 200. They celebrated the. Was the 5-year anniversary of the 200th episode?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I went to the 5-year.
My thing is, like, you get to 100, you celebrate it. You shouldn't be celebrating it until you get to 500. Then after that, all right. What are you gonna every 100? Come on. I mean, just 2 years. Anyway, I digress. So yeah. So I think somewhere along that timeline, obviously we assume that MJF is going to get swindled in that contract, and there's going to be something in that contract next week that either makes him like, either it's going to put him in not a good way, and MJF is going to be stuck in hell with the Hurt Syndicate, I feel like, for a little bit. And then I do think that the Hurt Syndicate get through either one of Crew or Dustin and Sammy at Double or Nothing relatively easily. And then I would think we start to head towards what looks like an FTR Hurt Syndicate tag title program. And that is when I feel like MJF would finally turn his back on the Hurt Syndicate. Whether he aligns with FTR is one thing or the other, but I think that would be when he would turn his back and he would either do something that would, that's going to cost them the belts, and FTR will be the new champs. And then you get to All In and you have MJF versus Bobby one-on-one, and you have FTR as the tag champs defending those titles against Christian and Adam Copeland. I feel like that would be the thing to do.
It is interesting though, because sorry, I got a text from my insurance people.
Oh, well, they need to know that you're busy.
The whole, like, the booking of MJF this year has been interesting, because he started out the year with the Hangman stuff.
Yeah, I don't think they want him involved with the Death Riders. That's the gist I'm getting with this. Is Tony is like, I don't want MJF involved with the Death Riders at all. So we're just gonna have MJF do other shit until the title is off Moxley, and then MJF is immediately going to be going after the world title.
Yeah,
that's how the booking's been to me.
I don't know. They start, because the whole thing with Hangman was that calling back to like the Adam Cole stuff, and that nobody's on his side anymore, and he doesn't trust anyone, and he can't be friends with anyone again. But then they like almost immediately went into this Hurt Syndicate stuff after that, and judging from what MJF's trajectory has been and what he's said, it's, I don't trust anyone, I don't want to be friends with anyone. But when you see this Hurt Syndicate stuff now, it's like, oh, he wants to be friends with them. And at first we thought, oh, well, he's the one playing them. He doesn't want to be friends with them. He just wants to get the tag titles. But it doesn't feel that way anymore. It feels like now, I mean, because like that whole segment last night, it's like starting from that backstage interview with Renee, where he's like, he's starting to contemplate, like, oh, wait, I could actually be in trouble if they say no.
Well, yes, but I think it's more that than he wants to be friends with them. Because before Renee asked him that question, he was like, I don't like to work hard, and I don't want to wrestle unless I know I'm going to win. And if I'm with the Hurt Syndicate, I'll win more. So it's not really about, he doesn't want to join the Hurt Syndicate because he wants buddies. He wants to join the Hurt Syndicate because in his mind, it's an easier way for him to get to the world title because he'll have buddies behind him backing him up.
Yeah, I guess.
So again, I don't think he is openly talked about his friendship with MVP. That has been a very open thing throughout all this, the respect and the friendship that they have. But I don't think he wants to be friends or he cares about being friends with Bobby or Shelton. He just knows that if he's part in his brain, if he's part of that group, they're going to help him get to the world title quicker because he'll have people by his side.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
So I feel like it's strictly a business decision for MJF. But obviously, he knows he has to be buddy-buddy with these guys for them to let him in. So he's going to be, you can't be dickheads to the guys and then expect them to be like, yeah, you can come come on. Yeah. So he's going to be friendly and like buddy-buddy to warm, you know what I mean? But to me, and the greater purpose, though, of the MJF booking, like you're saying, that's the vibe that I get, is he's done promos with Will Ospreay, who has potential to be world champion after All In. He's had matches and done promos with Hangman, and they have unfinished business, who has potential to be world champion after All In. He's referenced the Death Riders and Moxley a few times, not anything face-to-face or anything, but he's mentioned him at least, who
and
obviously
Swerve
has
as well.
And Swerve. All these guys that have potential to be world champions, whenever they pull the trigger and get it off Moxley, MJF is involved with and has history with. So it's very easy for him to just go, okay, and get right back to the world title picture, because the vibe that I have got is AEW does not want MJF near or involved with the Death Riders. So he's doing other things. He's been doing non-title big feuds. He's been doing this Hurt Syndicate thing until the world title is away from the Death Riders. And then I think we see MJF almost immediately start going for the world title. That's my opinion.
I mean,
that's at least how it's looked for
not
me.
just with MJF, because we've been talking about this for a while now, but at some point we should also get Bobby in the championship picture as well, right?
I agree. It's not going to happen while he's a tag champ, though. It's not going to happen while he's a tag champ. So,
oh no, of course not. Or while the Death Riders are around.
Okay, well, how about this? How about MJF turns on the Hurt Syndicate at some point, costs them the tag titles. They have a one-on-one match. MJF somehow wins the one-on-one match with Bobby. They go do separate things for a little bit. MJF becomes the world champion again, and Bobby Lashley is one of his main opponents for the world title.
I like that.
It's long-term storytelling. It works. It fits with what we're going on. You could build to that, and Bobby Lashley can beat MJF for that title. And I don't think anybody would have an issue with it. Bobby Lashley being the AEW world champion looks like it would work. So there's ways you can go about it. So we'll have to see. But that is where my brain goes when I think about, because I do agree with you. I do think the contract that MJF gets next week, there's going to be some bullshit in there. The boss man has shown up. Good morning, sir. Hope you are well. All right, let's move on. We had ourselves another 4-way eliminator match for the Women's World Championship match. It was Toni Storm. It was the returning Mina Shirakawa. It was the also returning Chicago's own Sky Blue. And it was Azumi. Azumi picking up a shocking victory over the weekend. Didn't pin Mercedes, but it was a triple threat match. She took one of Mercedes' belts.
That's right.
She took one of Mercedes' belts over the weekend.
There's now 3 belts.
So she has 3 belts now. But yes, and Sky Blue came back from a horrific leg injury, the fibula, the biggest bone in the human body. She had to learn how to walk again, dude.
Yeah, she's been out for like a year.
She's been out for a long time. And returning in Chicago. That's a little much, Fernando. Come on. You're better than that. Returning in Chicago. She got a good pop. And you could see the emotion on her face. I felt really good. I felt really happy for her. And this match was pretty good. All 4 women, again, second week in a row, we have a 4-way with Toni Storm in there. All 4 women look good. They all got their stuff in. Sky Blue looked really good. She looked like she was feeling good in there. No rust. Mina Shirakawa is incredible. She's very good. Almost a year, 10 months, Scott says she was out. Obviously, there's a history with Mina and Toni as well that they were playing up in this match throughout. And they had a back and forth, all 4 of them. Toni Storm going into this was 14-0 as women's champion in eliminator matches. However, Drew, at the end of this match, Mina Shirakawa rolled her up and she pins in an inside cradle. She pins Toni Storm. Only the 4th time ever that a person, the challenger, has won an eliminator match. The 4th time ever.
Yeah.
In the history of AEW, this is only the 4th time that a challenger has won. And Maria, I was kind of shocked too, but I think it makes perfect sense. I think it makes perfect sense with their history. And like Johnny said, I liked Tony's reaction after the match because Toni was shocked that she lost, but it almost looked like she was happy for Mina, even though she lost. And she has to fight Mina at Double or Nothing. It looked like she was like, oh, all right. Like, not all right with it, but it looked like she even had like a little bit of genuine joy for Mina, which I thought was a nice little touch. There was a whole bunch of shit that happened after the match that we'll get to here in a second. But what did you think of this 4-way?
So Azumi, I'm not too familiar with because I'm not into the New Japan. You know, I not that I'm not into it. I'm just I don't have that much time to be watching 5,000 wrestling shows a month. But I like her a lot.
Yeah.
She's got that quick, fast paced.
Mm-hmm.
All I wouldn't say Tony does, but really Mina and Sky Blue and Azumi have that same type of style. And I really enjoyed this. Now, when I found out that there was going to be a 3rd eliminator match in like 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, can we?
I thought they were just going to have
anymore?
like Toni go on a run where it was like 15-0, 16-0 and eliminator.
Yeah.
But this actually makes sense that it's Shirakawa. This was her first match officially as an AEW signed talent. And they gave her the full entrance. They've been promoting her for the last couple weeks. Like this was a very good match for all 4 women, but this was a showcase for Mina. This match was a showcase for Mina Shirakawa.
Yeah. Now, one thing that I did notice,
Spencer, I agree. I did not hate the music as well. I liked Mina's entrance and the music. I liked the dance move. I was in on it. Sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
Wait, was it different? It was different music?
I'm not going to say that I remembered the old music, but I dug it.
Oh, well, he said going back to the old music. Okay, so she had new music and then went back to the old music.
Yeah.
Did you know there was one glaring omission in the whole Mina and Toni Storm stuff, and there was 0 mention of Mariah May.
Yeah, because she's going to WWE, man.
I feel like that's the obvious sign now is I believe somebody, I don't know if it was Ian or Excalibur, at one point said, I'm paraphrasing, this wasn't the exact thing that was said, but it was something to the effect of they've shared tag partners. Or he says something to that effect, and like that was the Mariah May shout out without mentioning her name.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. Well, yeah, there's that. That's pretty much the confirmed Mariah May is no longer with AEW.
I would again, I haven't heard much about. I would assume they're still trying to re-sign her. Why wouldn't you? I think she would be better off sticking with AEW, but
Maria, it has been reported.
It has been reported by multiple places
she pretty much told them that she wants to go to WWE.
Yes, so that has been reported by multiple very reputable sites that have said she let AEW know that WWE is a dream, like is a goal for her. So you can say technically you're not wrong, but you kind of are. So it is, it is what it is. I personally, again, Sandy, who knows? They put Finn Balor, for crying out loud, in NXT back in the day. So I don't know who they're gonna put. I don't know who they're gonna put in NXT compared to main roster stuff. But
I was surprised. I was surprised that Ricky Starks went to NXT.
Yeah.
I thought he would have been main roster.
Yeah. But after this match, Drew, Tony and Mina have that thing in the ring. They already show the graphic. Spencer, I think that's a good point. If Jordan Grace goes to NXT, if Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, and Jordan Grace all go straight to NXT, I would assume that Mariah May would go to NXT. Just to start. Maybe not long, but that's what I would assume. Because
why didn't Jade start in NXT then?
I just think because of her look. Jade has a once in a gener, like, come on. You look at Jade and you're like, I have never seen another person look like that before, ever in the history of time. So I think, no, it's not an indictment on the talent at all. I think from a work standpoint, Jade could have gone to NXT, but I think Jade has a certain presence and a look, more importantly, that it's like,
and she is already over on the main roster.
She's gonna be. She looks like she's fucking fighting for the title soon. I don't disagree, Fernando, but again, I think Jordan. Here's the thing. I don't like saying that because NXT is the most consistently the best show under the WWE umbrella week after week. So I don't want to sit here and say, like, when you say phrases like that, it almost feels like you're doing a negative towards NXT. Nobody is better than NXT. Nobody is better than NXT. I'm sorry. When you had Shinsuke,
well, that's factually untrue.
When you had Shinsuke, Nakamura start in NXT, nobody. Kevin Owens started in NXT.
No,
Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn started in NXT. Finn Balor. These are like some of the greatest wrestlers to ever do it, who were already known names and already the best wrestlers in the world when they were signed to WWE, and they went to NXT. So nobody. Now, obviously, Roman Reigns ain't going to go to NXT. Duh. But like when you're coming in for the first time, nobody besides AJ Styles or somebody like that.
Or Jade, according to
Yeah. Like not a lot of people, I do think now with Triple H running things, it's a little bit more different. Like we saw a debut at Backlash, which we'll talk about, that didn't go to NXT, went straight to the main roster. Now the Bloodline's a little different because the Bloodline has had guys debuting on the main roster no matter what, because it's the Bloodline. So that could be considered different. But when I look at the history of NXT and you see these big signings, and they were like top of the top of independent wrestling, or like a guy like, and again, I'm not talking about what has happened on the main roster with Shinsuke. At the time of the signing, Shinsuke Nakamura was arguably one of, if not the best wrestler in the world, and he was already a legend in professional wrestling because of what he did in New Japan. And they were like, yeah, you're going to go to our developmental territory there, Shinsuke.
Well, it wasn't being treated like that.
No, he wasn't. But
no, the NXT wasn't being treated that way.
Oh,
back then.
Yeah, but it was still.
NXT was better than the main roster.
I agree. Well, I mean, I think we're not,
because Triple H was playing Tony Khan.
Yeah.
Back then, before AEW, and using NXT to be the X Ring of Honor and the X, whatever, to X New Japan to get all of the indie darlings, all the things that Tony Khan gets, trashed for on Twitter now.
What a time to be alive.
That was what Triple H was doing in 2014 to 2018 before AEW.
What a time to be alive. I still don't think there's a better stretch of any. I don't think in the last 15 years for me, that NXT Black and Gold, that era right there, I don't think there has been a better stretch of wrestling. I mean, like one company, whatever you want to call it. Like that was the best. That was the best. Anyway, so Azumi is being helped to the back by Aubrey Edwards, and Mercedes Moné comes out of nowhere, blindsides her. Jesus Christ. and he puts in the statement maker. And then Jamie Hayter shows up. She makes the save. She starts beating down Mercedes. She puts in a crossface on Mercedes. And then she looks like she's setting her up for Haterade, but security comes and they break away and stuff like that. So they kind of, building some more friction between Hayter and Mercedes. Mercedes with a zoomie saying, "You stole my title," as she had her in the statement maker. She's screaming, "You stole my title. You stole my title." So obviously we'll probably run that back on the New Japan side of things at some point. Plus we have the finals of the Owen. So they're building multiple things, which I liked here at the end of that. I thought it was good. We then had a memorial for Sabu. Rest in peace to Sabu, obviously. WWE did memorials this week as well. Just terrible news. 60 years old, too young, an absolute legend, a trailblazer, one of a kind. I was a 90s kid. I grew up watching ECW Friday nights at 1 a.m. on Telemundo. That's where it showed, where I'm from. It showed on the Spanish channel Telemundo. I watched it Friday nights at 1 a.m. and Sabu was one of the staples. He was one of the guys. Sabu and Taz, just a rivalry that really helped build ECW. And then Sabu and Rob Van Dam, in my opinion, beside them and the Dudleys, are the two best tag teams in the history of ECW. And I forget who I saw that said it. It wasn't Taz, but it was another. It might have been Dreamer. I'm not sure. But he said Sabu was really the guy that really started to revolutionize using tables in wrestling. And that's correct. ECW as a whole did that, but Sabu was like, nobody used more tables than Sabu in ECW. And that was like the first time you really saw tables used a lot, was in ECW. And Sabu really was that guy, jumping from the chair to the ropes through the table on the outside, or just crazy shit. So really, really a trailblazer, an absolute legend. And that's sad. And I thought them letting Taz speak was very nice. Yeah. Taz has been very open. Like, he wouldn't have had the career he had if it wasn't for Sabu. Like, Sabu got him over, man, in ECW. And, he gave him a little eulogy, and he said, I thought the way he said it, he said Sabu was aura before aura was a thing. And I thought that was a really good way to put it, because he was. You would hear that music, that drum beat, that and the crowd in ECW would be like, "Oh shit!" Like it's gonna get wild. You know what I mean? Like, I thought Taz did it really well, and he said that he was loved by his peers. He said he was a savage out there, but in the back, he was loved by everybody, and he started to get emotional, and everybody at the table kind of put the fingers up, and the whole crowd did it. It was a really good moment. It was a really good moment. And I think nobody can talk better about Sabu than Taz because of their history together. So I thought Taz was the right guy to talk about it. And even on the WWE side of it, when they were showing the memorial on Raw, where they did it a little bit differently, they had Michael Cole and Pat McAfee talking over it with like some soft piano music. Michael Cole mentioned Taz. And he said he had a really good rivalry. And he said, with my good friend Taz. And I was like, that was nice that they mentioned Taz, because really that is the feud that Sabu is not like. Sabu and Taz was the feud. That the first ECW pay-per-view was built around it. Like, it was, man, sad. That's that. They're all sad when you lose somebody anywhere, but it's sad when you lose somebody young. But Sabu was really, man, he was one of a kind. So rest in peace to him and his family. We obviously are thinking about here. And so, all right. We then get Tony Schiavone in the ring with Nigel McGuinness. And they're talking about what happened on Collision on Thursday. So at the end of the show in Collision, Nigel McGuinness got involved physically in the Daniel Garcia. Was it Dax? He fought Dax, right? Daniel Garcia and Dax on Collision, I believe. Yeah. There was some stuff that happened, and Nigel McGuinness got involved, and there was some physicality after that. So Tony's in the ring with Nigel, and McGuinness says, "I'm going to make this quick. I just want to apologize to Tony for doing what I told him not to do. I got in the ring when you're an announcer. That is not something announcers should do. And then he said, and I also want to apologize to Daniel Garcia. And that cues Daniel Garcia coming out to the ring. Nigel said, he goes, I let my ego get the better of me. I cost you the victory and the winner's purse. And he goes, and from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. He said, my place is at the announce desk and not in the ring. And then Daniel Garcia says, you can keep your apology. He goes, you did exactly what you were supposed to do after FTR disrespected you. He goes, FTR tried to end my career, tried to end Adam Copeland's career, and given the opportunity, they'll try to end yours too, Nigel. He said, I'm going to fight him. Daniel Garcia says, I'm going to fight him with or without you. So you can turn your back. You can commit to not being a wrestler anymore, but it would be an honor if you would stand with me and fight with me against FTR. This leads to then Stokely Hathaway making, Dare Amazing, how are you doing, friend? Stokely Hathaway then makes his way to the ring. He says, I can't believe I'm seeing two burnouts argue, which is the bigger disappointment, and adds that FTR isn't here this week. Tight Spot, how we doing, man? Good morning to you. He says, what Nigel did was egregious. He almost broke Dax Harwood's jaw and separated Cash Wheeler's shoulder. So what's your problem? Nigel then goes back at him a little bit. He goes, you guys disrespected me. You put your hands on me. And then Stokely says, your apology does nothing. You put your hands on FTR. There are repercussions and consequences for that. I had a powwow with FTR, and we decided that Nigel should be punished by having to wrestle them. So FTR can't be suspended or held accountable for what they do. And to Dan, he calls him Danny Boy. Nigel then says, I don't want to wrestle. They're 10-time tag champions, and he and Garcia have barely had a conversation. And he looks at Daniel and he goes, they'll kill us, man. They'll kill us. And then Daniel says, they might kill us, but we've both been overcoming the odds our entire careers. So let's give the people something they'd never thought they'd see. And then it gets to the point where Stokely's talking some more shit. And FTR shows up from out of nowhere behind them. They attack Nigel and Daniel. They look like they're going to spike pile drive Nigel, but Daddy Magic with a crowbar in hand runs into the ring and runs off FTR and Stokely. So Fernando, I think that could be a good thing right there. I think we are going to get Garcia and Nigel versus FTR at Double or Nothing. I wouldn't be shocked if FTR wins that match and they start to do some dastardly shit after the match, and that is where we see a Cope return. That makes sense to me, Fernando. Good call out in the chat.
Yeah.
Drew, what'd you think about this segment and the likelihood that we're getting Nigel and Daniel Garcia teaming up here against FTR?
I am a big fan of Nigel being used in this way. Obviously people are wrongly comparing this to the Pat McAfee situation.
Not even similar, not even close to similar.
Not even close to similar.
Not even close. See, that's what, Maria, if you're still here, why you asked me that question about the IWC earlier, this is one of the reasons, because most of them are fucking idiots. Yeah. Anyway.
It's been a genuine treat to see him being used both in the roles that he's used in on television. And I think Fernando, I think that's totally right, and that would make the most sense to do that match at Double or Nothing. And potentially have Cope return there. I'm glad that they haven't just done nothing with Daniel Garcia since he lost the title. That was another fear of mine. It's like, oh, he loses the title and then he's just going to disappear. Because like we said before, it did seem like the only reason he won that title was for a feel-good moment, and there was no plan for him post-title win, like Private Party. So this was, he's been on TV consistently. It's been more Collision than Dynamite.
Yep.
But Y'all need to be watching Collision again if you're
Collision's
not,
good.
because
Collision's just, it's been a great show these last few. Like, it's
it's
equally, if
fun.
not most weeks, it's better than Dynamite. It's been better than Dynamite a lot of, like, it is an equally good show. Like, Collision, they have turned back into must-see television, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I actually regret missing it now when I don't watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been on Collision. He's been on Collision, but it's been a great show to watch again. So
Mhm.
I'm not like, oh, I gotta watch Collision, because usually I would just not watch Collision. But now I'm like, yeah, okay. So I like the direction of this, and yeah. So I think probably what Fernando said is what's gonna
Yeah, I
happen.
think, that makes perfect sense to me. So yeah, we'll see that. And then it was main event time, Drew. It was a steel cage match for the AEW World Championship. It was Jon Moxley defending against 1/3 of the trios champions, Samoa Joe. Drew, I thought this was a good match. I felt like it was, for me, I kept on waiting it for it to go up a level. And I felt like I was like, all right, this is pretty good. This is good. All right. All right. All right. And then it just kind of stayed here and it never kind of went to that next level in the match. There was stuff that happened after, which we'll talk about. But again, I thought this was a good match. Moxley busted open relatively early and kind of blood everywhere. We love Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's the man. And again, I thought this was a good main event. And I thought it was a good fight between Joe and Moxley. However, I was just kind of waiting for it to kind of hit that next level, next pace. And I felt like it never quite did. It kind of got to where it was and kind of stayed.
I took that as that they both have very similar styles.
Yeah.
So it's really
Maybe that
just
was
like
it.
the slow,
Which I don't hate. I don't hate slow, big hitting, big like, I thought it was good. I was just kind of waiting for it to kind of, for the most part. I mean, he's obviously older. And more
yeah.
more tread on the tires, but he is that same guy. He is that over. He is that type of wrestler. He's still a beast. One of the best promos. Like, he's still Samoa Joe, an all-timer.
Yeah. But I do agree. It did seem like it was not reaching that level for most of the match. But the interesting thing I think about this is obviously the surprise that happens towards the end of the match.
Yes, which we'll talk about.
This is the first time, I think, maybe since the four-way match at World's End. I think this might be the first time since then that the ending of a world title match did not disappoint people.
Yeah, because what happens at the end here, Drew, is so we come back from commercial, and when we come back from the last commercial, the Death Riders are around ringside, and Willow and Powerhouse Hobbs are around ringside. So each guy has their friends there, Marina, Wheeler, and Claudio, and then we have Powerhouse and Willow. And then when it looks like, so at one point, Moxley hits the double arm DDT on Joe. Joe kicks out. Moxley's can't believe it. And then Joe clinches in the Coquina clutch. And at that moment, we've seen previously the last 3 weeks, Joe has put Moxley out with that. He's choked him out multiple times.
And Wheeler gets taken out.
Yeah. So
by
that's when
Powerhouse Hobbs.
I was going to say, once he put him in the clutch, that's when the Death Riders are like, nope. And Claudio and Wheeler start climbing up the cages. Willow comes over, takes out Marina, takes out Claudio. Powerhouse Hobbs takes out Wheeler, puts him through the timekeeper's table, which was a great spot. And as all this is going down, there's a man in a hood who shows up, and he grabs the briefcase, which we are to assume has the AEW World title in it. and he slides it in the ring, and he's talking to Moxley as he does it. Moxley grabs it. He wallops Joe over the head with the briefcase, and he gets the 1, 2, 3 pinfall victory. At first, commentary is like, who's the guy in the hood? And then right after the match, the hood comes down, and we find out it is Gabe Kidd. New Japan's own Gabe Kidd shows up. He's talking shit to Hobbs. All sorts of stuff is going on. And then Claudio gets Hobbs' attention. And as Claudio gets Hobbs to turn around, Gabe Kidd hits him with an uppercut in the man region. The Young Bucks then make their entrance, and they come out clapping.
Didn't do this deal like Paul Heyman did.
No. Scott, Jack Perry. Yeah, that's a good thought to have. That's a good thought to have. The Young Bucks then come out. Nicholas offers his hand to Moxley, but before they can shake or anything like that, Kenny Omega's music hits, ready for a fight. He hits a V trigger on Wheeler Yuta on his way to the ring. He's brawling with Claudio. He's throwing him into the barricade. Okada then shows up from behind, and he hits Kenny right in the stomach area. He throws Kenny into the ring. Matthew hits... Matthew has the big remote control that controls the stage.
For a moment, it almost looked like the old school, like Paul Heyman phone.
Yeah, exactly. So he hits the button. The cage starts lowering. They throw everybody in the ring. They hit a BTE trigger on Samoa Joe. They're putting the boots to Omega. They hit a paradigm shift on Omega. And then Swerve. Swerve comes out. He climbs the cage. He dives onto the whole group. Matt, at this point, Matt Jackson like grabs the remote, and he's like desperately trying to, he's like, lift the cage. Like he's trying to get the cage to get up. The cage finally moves. The Elite and the Death Riders run away because they're bitches. And then Swerve gets the mic. And Swerve says, the last time I was in this city inside a cage, I got my brains beat in. I got my brains beat in by a steel cage and dropped on a cinder block, but here I am. He goes, you think I fear anything? Nah, I am the fear. And he goes, I'm the most dangerous man in AEW. And he goes, and I think with this collection of men and lady, hell yeah, that we want to cause a little anarchy. And he says, double or nothing, Phoenix, Arizona, anarchy in the arena. And that's how we end the show. So it looks like we are going to get a mixed anarchy in the arena as Willow and Marina Shafir, will be involved in anarchy in the arena, which I love. First women ever to be in an anarchy in the arena match. I assume we're going 5. I don't. There's a lot of guys because if is Gabe Kidd involved?
I'm assuming Gabe Kidd, Mox,
Wheeler, Claudio,
Marina.
So what about Okada and the Bucks?
I don't think they're gonna. I don't know. Are they gonna be involved in that?
Swerve is going after the Bucks. He cares about the Bucks more than he cares about Moxley.
Oh, so then
his main guy's been the Bucks.
Take out Claudio and Wheeler and replace them with the Young Bucks.
So Moxley, the Young Bucks, Gabe Kidd and Marina Shafir against Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs, Swerve, Kenny, and Willow.
Yeah, it feels weird to break up the teams like that.
We're not going to have the whole trios title champions. I know he wasn't there tonight, but no.
This is also just Anarchy in the Arena. It is really just like a melee. It's not really a match, so anyone can get involved.
But it makes me think. I'm like, are we sticking to five? Speedball did run off Okada, so do we add Speedball and Okada to this, and it's 6-on-6? Or do Speedball? We are getting Speedball and Okada because they teased it last week at the end of the Okada-Kevin Knight match. They teased it. So I think we're getting that. So maybe that's separate. But Okada was involved with this too. So does Speedball, because they ran him off, do they do something separate, or are they in this? They were a lot more than just 5-on-5. You know what I mean?
You know what? I can see a potential double or nothing match being Okada and Speedball.
I could see that for the title. That would be a great fucking match. I could see that. I'm just kind of like, what way do we go here? Because if you're adding all of the Death Riders plus the Young Bucks and now Gabe, that's like 7 people. So,
I mean, you could realistically. I mean, every Anarchy in the Arena match has been 5-on-5.
yeah,
It really is kind of like the Survivor Series, War Games type of a thing. But they can just change the rules there, and it's not even. I don't know if it's not even a rule. Really.
No, it's just what
it's just
been.
always
it's
been
kind of
5
always been
people.
5-on-5. Yeah. I don't know. But I love the fact that they're doing it and they're involving the ladies. I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun. Gabe Kidd, his first match, like not first match because he's wrestling AEW, but like him in Anarchy in the Arena, like he's one of those perfect guys that kind of match fits him tremendously. So that should be a fun little match that we get at Double or Nothing with all those people.
I love Gabe
That'll
Kidd.
be fun.
Gabe
Kidd's
phenomenal.
great. Oh, he's tremendous. So a real good time right there. And that's how Beach Break ended. So a really good episode of Dynamite. I thought for a Chicago crowd, they were good, but they weren't. I thought they were a little not as Chicago-y as they normally are. But over, you know what I mean? They're usually, you know what I mean?
I don't really pay attention to that stuff that much these days. I don't pay attention to 2 main things: crowd reaction and what the announcers say. I really just kind of tune it out and just look at the wrestling product.
Well, I mean, I think a crowd can make or break a show. So that's kind of how I view it. Like a crowd can make a good show great or make a good show bad, depending on how the crowd is, you know? So
I thought let that affect me.
I thought it was a good crowd, but usually Chicago is like top tier, like top tier.
One show a year, Sandy. That's all I can take.
Yeah. Sandy, I know you are of that continent, so I'm not going to lean into it. But seeing it as often as we have this year, I disagree.
The WWE crowds stopped the European chants.
Yeah,
for the most part, because they started like, Roman Reigns. Like, let's not. Let's leave
that to them. Why don't we just sit there like normal people and watch the show? But anyway, that is going to do it for the AEW portion of Firmly Inc. We are now going to move over to WWE, and this is how we're going to do this. We're going to talk about Backlash, and then anybody on Backlash that had stuff to do on Raw, we're going to talk about the Raw stuff and the fallout from them as we go by the matches. Instead of, and then we'll fill in the blanks with everything else that happened on Raw. So, the Backlash, St. Louis, Missouri. Thought it was a good show. Show opened with a fun one. Fatal 4-way. Jacob Fatu defending the U.S. Championship against LA Knight, Damian Priest, and Drew McIntyre. A couple guys got beat up for real in this match. There were reports that multiple guys, particularly Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, had to be checked on by medical after the match. And apparently Damian Priest was very upset because he lost a tooth or something happened in his dental area, and he was not thrilled. Then there was a report that, the big spot at the end of the match where Damian Priest gave Drew the South of Heaven in the crowd through the table, that Drew completely missed the table and his head hit the ground, and people were concerned. Johnny, thanks for tuning in, my man. Appreciate you.
Take care, Johnny.
That Drew missed the table and his head hit the ground, and there was concern that he might have been dazed or concussed or anything like that. But Triple H at the press conference at least said that he was okay. So we'll see. But a fast-paced, fun opener, as you would expect. Yes, as Spencer said, if you're here watching, like the video.
Give us a thumbs up like the Hurt Syndicate.
Yes. Like the video, Hit the bell for notifications so you know what's going on. But a good, fast-paced four-way for the title. Jacob Fatu is so over. It is silly how over he is. When he did that sequence where he took out all three guys and did that dive through the ropes and he kind of did his his little shaky thing, that crowd exploded.
Yeah, he is a treat.
And they were chanting Fatu. And the big thing that happened at the end of this match was so Priest and Drew were fighting on the outside and they had that big spot. So they were kind of removed from the match. And that left Jacob Fatu and LA Knight in the ringside area. And it looked like LA Knight was getting ready. They were on the outside. Looked like LA Knight was getting ready to kind of take control of the match. Solo Sikoa shows up. He's about to hit the elbow drop through the table. Solo Sikoa shows up. He pulls Jacob Fatu off the table. LA Knight then starts going after Solo, and he's walking towards him, and then he gets clotheslined by a guy that we can't see right away, and that guy ends up turning out to be a debuting Jeff Cobb. And I must say, when they showed Jeff Cobb's face for the first time, that crowd, that was a good pop that he got.
Yeah.
That was a good pop. And
Where were they?
St. Louis.
Okay.
For a WWE crowd, that was a louder pop than I was expecting for Jeff Cobb. Like, I know who Jeff Cobb is, obviously. I feel like a lot of people do, clearly. But not all New Japan guys hit like that. And Jeff Cobb was a guy that I didn't necessarily know the crowd would react to that way right away. But he got a really, really good pop. And the thing that was crazy about this, Drew, was Jacob, even though this helped him win the match and retain his U.S. title, he didn't seem to be digging it.
Yeah. Because he he's been on the opposite end where he knows when a plan is happening and it's surprising the opponent.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's not being included in these plans because he definitely was not made aware that Jeff Cobb was coming in and that Solo Sikoa was talking to him.
Agreed.
So yeah, this is interesting because this put Jacob in the Paul Heyman slot, where when Paul was there with Solo and was being surprised by all these people coming out of nowhere, and he was never made aware of it. So he knows what it's like to not be included in plans and what that potentially means for him.
Yep. I agree. And so this
especially since lately, he's been going at Solo a little bit.
Yes, he has. And this just tells me, Sandy, listen, this whole thing, we're going to go back to this. We haven't talked about it for 2 fucking months, but we got to go back to it because people can't let this shit go. You are misconstruing what I said. It is perfectly okay for you to own merchandise for a heel. Perfectly okay. However, WWE, or not even that, in my opinion, your themed city, WWE does that corny shit now where they have a themed shirts for everywhere they go. Your themed shirt for the cities you're going to shouldn't be with a heel. Stop. We literally just talked on the show a couple weeks ago about how people are cheering for the heels too much in WWE when they were beating the shit out of Sami Zayn. They were beating the crap out of Sami Zayn, and the crowd was chanting one more time for the heel faction. You know why? Because you're selling shirts with fucking heels on it. It's not supposed to be cool to like the heels. It's part of the problem. Anyway.
So my computer lately, when I go to play something, so what ended up happening, just as a quick side note, when we saw each other before the show started, and then you played the intro and whatever,
Yeah.
Nothing happened for me. I didn't see the show. I didn't see the video. So what I noticed had been happening is when I go into StreamYard and I click on a video, the video doesn't play for me.
Uh,
So I don't know why, but
so that's
because
probably
I want to be
that's
able to,
probably a plug-in issue.
I want to be I just want to know because you just did a thing and I have to play this now, but and I really hope that I'm gonna be able to see this too and enjoy it with everybody. But you know what happens when JPJ gets angry.
Live from the land of chowder and pain,
play.
JPJ's losing his freaking brain. Boston anger, turn up the heat. He's got opinions with no defeat.
Did anything happen?
You're frozen now, though. That's what happened on my end.
God damn it.
So I can hear you, but
Played.
now you are frozen. It did play. It did play, but now you are frozen. So you need to, after this show, obviously, you need to re-download something because your plugins are fucked. Your plugins are fucked.
My computer is fucked.
Well, you need to buy a new one.
Yeah, I do.
Or you need to figure that out. Maybe there's an update that you need to do because now I can't see you at all. Now we're back to how it was at the beginning of the
I
show.
see that. So
Yeah.
let me go and restart again. So,
Okay. Pardon.
but I had to do it. I had to do
No,
it.
I get it. I get it. Hopefully Pluggo's not upset. Hi, Ophelia. How are you? Good to see you. Hopefully Pluggo's not upset. I don't think he will be. But Dustin made I think that is, I mean, it doesn't say beards on there. So, you know, I think that is just for me. I think that's just attached to me, no matter what. But again, listen, I know we were just kind of kidding around, but I do think WWE has a problem with the baby faces are cooler than the heels are cooler than the baby faces in WWE. And I think that is inherently a problem. Because yes, there are people, I am one of them, who always usually roots for but you don't want, like, so I am somebody who always usually roots for the heels, but you don't want the majority of the audience to be rooting for the heels. But when you make your heels fucking cool and you give them city themed shirts and you give them all these things and, you know, you give them theme music, you turn them heel, but you keep theme music where the crowd sings for them. That you're not going to, you know, you don't want, like, if you get to a point, like I look at you mentioned Dom, Sandy. I look at Dom, I look at Jacob Fatu. Obviously, the shirt thing is different. But like I look at those guys, and those guys have gotten over organically to me. So it feels like that's always going to happen, and that's always happened in wrestling, where you have a bad guy who just organically gets over with the crowd, and then that tells you like, oh, we should probably turn this guy babyface soon because the crowd digs him. Because Jacob Fatu, they haven't portrayed as a babyface. He's just a savage. But the crowd digs it because he's a fucking badass, right? Dom Mysterio gets cheered now because we've watched him get good at this over the last 5 years. And we've watched him turn into a pretty good wrestler and a great character. And Dom does a lot of interviews where he just seems like a cool. Dom seems like the kind of guy you want to hang out with. Like, he just seems like a cool guy. Like, he seems funny. He's witty. He's funny. He's sarcastic. He's an asshole, but in a good way. Like, you know? So I feel like there's a difference between that. All I'm saying is 2 weeks ago, when Sami Zayn is getting his brains kicked in by Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker, you don't want the crowd chanting one more time. You don't. Sorry. Sami Zayn is one of the most over underdog, pure meat baby faces that WWE has. To me, not in ring, but to me, he is this, and I've been saying it for a year, he is this generation's Mick Foley to me. The way the crowd adores Sami Zayn is the same way the crowd adores Mick Foley. It is that same type of energy to me. And he's getting his ass kicked and speared 4 or 5 times and stomped multiple times, trying to stop stealing my things, Sandy, and pretending they're yours. I've been saying that for 2 months, damn it. That is not true, Maria. So you have that, and that happens. And it's like, okay, well, it just can't happen. That's how Sammy is. It's just not what you want to happen. And so I do think that WWE has run into a problem, which Maria, I agreed with you in your last comment before that one, is creative needs to book baby faces better. WWE has always been terrible at booking baby faces. Like for a long time, they've not been great. Their baby faces, they consistently make look like idiots, getting distracted by entrance music or all that. They consistently make them look like they are not smart people. And but that's not because of Sami. That's because people like the heel stable with Heyman, Seth, and Braun. That has nothing to do with Sami. When Sami comes out, he still gets ridiculously good pops. Sami Zayn's going to win the Royal Rumble next year, and he's going to beat Seth Rollins for the title at WrestleMania next year. And it's going to be a ridiculous moment, and the crowd's going to go bananas. It's not that Sami Zayn is not as over anymore. It's just the crowd's rooting for the heels because there's this new cool stable with Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, and Paul Heyman, 3 heels that the crowd likes. And they've done, you would think that the Sami turn would have been the thing that turned them to be like, oh, we don't like these guys anymore. They beat up Sami. But these guys have been presented as like such, cool guys, especially with Heyman and the song they sing for Seth still and all this stuff. They're going to run into that no matter what. When you think that when Seth finally fights Roman, the crowd's going to be fully rooting for Roman? No. And I don't think Roman is less over. But the crowd, some of the crowd, if not the majority of the crowd, I think will be rooting for Seth. Same thing when it's Seth and Punk again. I think when it's Seth and Punk again, I think the majority of the crowd, if not at least half the crowd, will be rooting for Seth. I don't think that means that the baby faces aren't as over as they used to be anymore. I think it's WWE has not done a good enough job making these guys hateable heels. And that's a problem. That's a problem. But anyway, Drew's back.
I believe I had said something like this a couple weeks ago on the last time I was here. Because I said like, oh, they didn't change the presentation of Seth. He's still doing the same. It's like you
standing in the ring waiting for the song. You're a bad guy, man. No, the crowd should not be fucking singing your song. No, you're a bad guy.
Yeah, so it's what is the topic?
No, I was just kind of I was just saying, what were we talking? Yeah, because we were talking about Jacob Fatu, and then I was just basically like, I think WWE has a problem where they don't book they for a long time haven't booked their baby faces good. Maria pointed that out in the chat. Like they have not booked their baby faces good for a long time. But now they're at a point where they are, how do I put this? Like they just a lot of their heels are cool. This stable with Seth, Braun, and Heyman, it's cool. Drew McIntyre is a cool heel. He's funny. He's cool. Jacob Fatu, technically, even though, because Cena's a heel. That has nothing to do with Cody. Like
Cena is actually doing the heel thing and not wanting to be cheered.
Correct. So Cena, even though they know Cena's going to get cheered because we've been waiting for his heel turn for 20 years, even though they knew he was going to get cheered, in his promos and the way that Cena's going about it, Cena is saying, I don't want you to cheer me. You can cheer. Like he's acknowledging it. and saying, no, you don't get to do that. You don't get to do that.
Right. That's what Seth should be doing.
Seth is not doing that. Seth is still going along. Hey, yes. No, you are a heel. Basically, I disagree. So I was talking about how a couple weeks ago you had Braun and Seth do this thing to Sami Zayn. And Sami Zayn to me, and we've talked about it for a long time on here, Sami Zayn to me is one of the most pure white meat over underdog baby faces WWE has. He's this generation's Mick Foley, the way he's adored by the crowd. That's how I feel about Sami Zayn, right?
Yeah.
And Maria said he's not as over anymore with the fans. They're starting to turn on him. And I said, that's not true. I go, they're not turning on him. They just like the heels that he's going after.
And then I said, okay, I do agree. He is still over with the crowds, but 2 weeks ago,
they're chanting one more time when he's getting murdered by Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. They're chanting one more time. He got speared 4 times and curb stomped twice.
But I did remember saying, thank you, just reminded me of the segment that I was thinking of. I do remember saying though that I don't think that it helped him that on that same show it looked like he was going to turn on
that was a week earlier.
Oh, well, the week prior. Sorry, yeah.
I get it, because there was that moment in the ring where Jay was celebrating it. Yeah, and it looked like Sammy was like, everyone was like, Sammy, Well, can I tell you something, though? I think Sammy's going to be the third guy.
You think Sammy is going to be the third guy?
Yeah.
Not Drew?
No. I think it's going to be Sammy.
Oh, okay. What makes you think that?
I don't know. It's just I don't think there was anything that really happened. I don't think there was really anything that really happened besides me just thinking about it. I think Sammy's going to turn on Punk. I think Sammy's going to turn on Punk in that tag match. And he's going to join with Seth. And he's going to join with Seth. And then I think that they're together for a little bit. And then I think we build towards Sammy eventually, doing the thing where he's a bad guy for a little bit. And then Seth starts treating him like shit. Because I think and we talked about it on here, that promo that Sammy cut, that when he looked Seth dead in the eye and he said, you knew what to do because you knew the WWE Championship is the only thing that I don't have and I've never had. And you knew to dangle that to me as a carrot to get me to leave. You knew that. And he goes, I will win the WWE Championship one day. To me, that promo was the foreshadowing to Sami Zayn beating Seth Rollins for the title at next year's WrestleMania. That is what that promo was to me. Was Sammy's winning the Rumble in Saudi Arabia. He's fighting Seth for the title at Mania. He's beating Seth for the title.
So you think that
I think he joins Seth
and helps Seth win the title from Jay?
I think he's the third guy, and then they do a very similar thing to what they did with the Bloodline with him, where he's with them, he's in it for a little bit, and then it starts dwindling, and the crowd's like, get the fuck out of there, Sammy. Sammy, you got to get out of there, man. Like, and the crowd's going to be like, nah. And then Sammy eventually, yes. And then I think that might not happen. That just kind of popped in my brain as I was thinking about it this week. Like, I think that could happen because Punk and Sammy have a history together and they really don't like each other in real life, I think, a little bit. And so I could see it happening. Maria, that's not a bad shout. I just think Sammy's the guy. I think the Rumble in Saudi Arabia, specifically with it being in Saudi Arabia, I think Sammy is the favorite. To win that one. I think that would be not the right thing to do because nothing is like, but I think that would be the proper thing to do, would be Sammy. And I'm telling you, the fact that he mentioned that in the promo tells me that whenever he wins that world title, he's beating Seth to do it. And I don't think there's a better place to do it than WrestleMania. Because Seth will eventually, because he's still messing with Jey Uso, he will eventually be Seth is going, even though he lost on Raw last week in the world title match against Jey. Well, he didn't really, got DQ'd or whatever. Seth is going to be the guy that beats Jey for that title eventually, probably at SummerSlam, would be my guess. Seth will be the guy that beats Jey. And then he will have the title until WrestleMania, where I think Sami Zayn will beat him. And I think Sami has gone for the world title before. Sami doesn't mention the world title, ever.
No.
And the fact that he mentioned it looking Seth dead in the eyes, saying, I will win the world title someday. Yeah, against you, buddy. That's what that foreshadowing was to me. So we'll see when we get there. But that all fucking stemmed out of the Fatal 4-Way match, whatever. Anyway, but Jacob Fatu retains. Jeff Cobb debuts. It looks like a tight spot we all do. Well, you want to win the title? Wait, you want him to win the title or you want to win the title? I
have a Universal Championship.
Yeah, I would love to win a title today soon. But you can wish in one hand and shit in the other and see which one gets filled first. So anyway, we go to this second match. This match right here was a humper. Let me tell you. Lyra Valkyria.
Match of the night for me.
Oh, tremendous. Defending the WWE
didn't get to say this last week because I wasn't here.
Yeah.
But
Lyra's been talk to me about my girl Lyra.
I cannot believe how much of a fan of Lyra Valkyria I am now. It's incredible to me because I just
spilled water all over myself. That's how excited I am. I just spilled water all over myself. We started talking about Lyra. I was like, oh, calm down, Joe. Calm down.
I can't believe how over she is with me right now because it was so fast. It was so fast. It's
crazy how when you have tight spot BP, come on, keep it in your pants, buddy. Come on now. That's a great comment though. It's crazy to me how when you actually let someone talk, how over they can get. Oh, and by the way, for everybody out there, Becky Hogan. I'm pretty sure she lost. I'm pretty sure she lost in a mid-card title match. So go fuck yourself.
And I did not expect that.
I thought she was going to win. I still think she's going to beat her eventually for the title because Bayley will get him. Or here's the thing, though. I want to throw this out to you because I was talking to our pal Josh Robinson off stream. What if Bayley comes back and kind of aligns with Becky against Lyra? Lyra has to go through both of them.
I don't know. I feel like
the OGs. I think it should be Becky and Bayley for the IC title for a little bit. But again, I also thought Becky was going to win this match. I thought Becky was going to win this match, beat down Lyra.
Right.
Bayley comes in for the save, and we kind of get to Becky and Bayley. But they had Lyra. This match just fucking ruled, first of all. Just tremendous match. And we've been talking on here for months about how good Lyra is in ring. That was never a debate, how good she was in
So Sandy just said triple threat at SummerSlam.
Could happen.
That could happen.
Could happen. I'd be okay with that. Well, we have a lot of. What about Money in the? We have a long way to go before SummerSlam.
Well, yeah, that's true.
We got the Saudi
2
show.
or 3 more months.
Yeah, what about sooner than that? But I agree. Triple threat seems that would be okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
When is Money in the Bank?
2 weeks, June 7th, 3 weeks, something like that. June 7th.
Before Double, right? It's
the
Money
week
in the Bank first, and then Double or Nothing.
2 weeks after Double or Nothing.
Okay.
June 7th, I want to say. Saturday.
Right.
I think it's the first week of June.
Yeah. So June 7th. Yeah, Sandy said.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Dude, Lyra fucking rules, man.
Maybe they do a rematch and then Bayley returns. I don't see. I mean, I wouldn't say that Bayley aligns with Becky immediately if they do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say there's at least a show or two maybe a pay-per-view that goes by, a PLE
Yeah.
that goes
Yeah.
by. I honestly, I don't see Bailey aligning with the person that took her out of her WrestleMania spot and to
Yeah,
take the
I
title
don't
win.
necessarily think that that's going to happen. But Josh threw it out there, and I was like, that could be fun if they did it right. Maria, I agree she doesn't need it, but I would argue that the IC championship needs Becky a little bit. If Becky Lynch wins the IC title, that title is automatically elevated. Now, again, they did a really good job of elevating Lyra in the IC title with what they've done the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But if
It's
this turns into Becky winning the belt, even if it's for a month or 2, and she has a feud with Bailey over it, that automatically makes the IC title mean more, because that automatically goes, oh, we have 2 all-time GOAT type conversation ladies and Becky and Bailey fighting for the IC title. So that belt must matter. I'm not talking about people like us who watch wrestling a lot or talk about wrestling on the internet a lot. I'm talking about the regular folk that don't care or go as deep into wrestling as we do. The fact that Becky Lynch is fighting for the IC title means that title means something. Because of people that have that mindset. Oh, they don't need the IC title. She's world champion. You know who IC champs were in the history of the IC champ? Bret Hart was an IC champion. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They were all IC champs. So why doesn't Becky? Why would Becky winning the IC championship be bad? Why would that be a negative? Doesn't make sense. Sorry. It is what it is.
Well, you know what I'll say? I think maybe sometimes people equate the title to status in the company. So like
Because
a Lyra or a Lyra, a Zelina, a Chelsea Green, the like mid to upper mid card. They can equate IC title, US title, the ones right underneath the world championships. And what we've seen in the past is John Cena not too long ago was the US champion.
Sure was. And that was after he was world champion about 15 times.
Yeah.
So that kind of negates your last comment there.
So what we've seen in the past is that the upper main cards, guys and gals, can shift down a little bit and still hold their overness and their place in the company within the fans without it hurting them. It doesn't hurt a John Cena to win the US championship. It wouldn't hurt Becky to win the IC title.
Absolutely not. Bailey was in the tournament to try to win the US championship. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I think that a lot of us, not me, obviously, but a lot of us have been conditioned because for a good 10 to 12 years, those mid-card titles didn't fucking matter at all.
No, right. And I think that's where some people come in and say, oh, well, Becky. And so I understand what Maria is saying.
I understand why they have the mindset, for sure.
Yeah.
But like when I was, you have to understand, when I was watching wrestling, and again, I'm older than some, but when I was watching wrestling in the early 90s all the way through the Attitude Era, there were times where the IC title was more important than the world title. And then we got to this stretch in the 2000s and 2010s where the mid-card titles didn't matter at all. Barely on the show, barely on the
Ambrose, John Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, was the United States Championship. Was the champion while he was in the Shield.
He was the longest reigning U.S. champion for a long time,
and didn't defend it at all.
At all. So again, like, I agree. I understand why people think that way, but that's just a bad way to look at it. So you're telling me right now that Becky Lynch, if she is not in the creative plans for either of the world championships currently, like if they're like, hey, we have the next 3 months laid out on both our shows for our women's world championship, you're telling me that just because Becky Lynch has been a world champion before, they should be like, all right, Becky, you're just going to have matches again. Just, she shouldn't want to be a champion. Becky was just a tag champion 2 weeks ago. Was that a negative? No. What are we talking about? Gold is gold, baby. Gold is gold. Yeah, it might be a mid-card title, but if you're the women's IC champion, guess what? You're the second most important woman on Raw. Second most important.
Now, what I will say is it depends on what the company does with you once you win that title.
It's all in creative. It's all in the booking. It's not.
Yeah.
But I don't like that argument. Oh, they're above it. No, they're not. They're above being a champion. A champion. Because last time I checked, on each show, there's only like 3 or 4 of them. So if you're telling me that I was a former world champion, but I wasn't involved in a world champion program currently, but I had a chance to win a championship, I'm trying to win the championship. No, I was a world champion before, so I'll just fight fucking these 2 guys for no stakes and nothing that matters for the next 3 months until I can win the world. No, I'll go win another belt. I'll go win another belt. That's what I'll do. I don't know. Maybe I think differently. Who knows? Anyway, I do want to move over to Raw here, though, because Becky Lynch cut one hell of a promo on Raw.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, baby. I'm all in on this, Drew. This is my favorite thing going on right now, to be honest with you. Becky Lynch, she says she wasn't beaten on Saturday. She says Lyra Valkyria was the one that was beaten. She goes, I know you don't believe me. She goes, but I'm here standing in the ring right now talking to you, and Lyra was the one that went to the hospital after our match on Saturday. She goes, after the bell rang, I didn't hear defeat. I heard an alarm going off in my ear about how much I was manipulated, not just by Lyra, but by the crowd. She goes, I walked away from this for almost a year because you guys asked me to. And she goes, I heard I liked how she did this, though. She goes, when I won my last world title, I heard the boos. She goes, I saw the things you all wrote on social media. She's leaning into the Becky Hogan stuff while not coming out and just saying it, but she's leaning into it because it's true.
Yeah, right. She's leaning into the current Becky Hogan stuff.
But
there was no Becky Hogan didn't exist when she was the champion last.
People were not thrilled that they gave the belt to her. There were people that were against that.
I don't remember that. Okay.
So she goes, I heard the reaction to my last title win. I read the comments and I walked away. And then you know what I kind of liked?
She walked away because she got pregnant.
No, not this time.
Well, no, that's true. She didn't.
This time she just left. Her contract was up and she just left.
But not that she got pregnant, but she wanted to be home with the kids.
That's what she said. I assume. I don't know. And then what I actually liked about this promo, though, a lot was she said, when I was not here for a year, I actually felt better about myself. I like how they leaned into that. And she was like, you know what? Like, not being here, I felt like a better human being not being here. And she goes, but I came back. And then she started talking about like all the good things that we all experienced with her. She talks about like, hey, I have you guys to thank for my career. You carried me on the shoulders to the main event of WrestleMania. We were all in this together, and the crowd starts cheering and stuff like that. And she goes, and you were all behind me. And then she goes, and then I won. And when I won, you all stopped being behind me because you're all failures and you don't know what winning feels like. And I was like, hell yeah, Becky.
That was a great line.
Hell yeah.
That was a great line.
Hell yeah. And then she starts going in. She goes, so this time she goes, I'm not going to spin my wheels trying to prove that I'm not what you all say I am. So she goes, so from now on, I am. She pulled out her best M&M. And she said, I am whatever you say I am. In the news, the paper, every day I am. That was Eminem, sorry. No, but she says, from now on, she is whatever you say I am. She goes, greedy, cutthroat, selfish, all of it. And she goes, and all those girls in the back are going to find out what it's like to be held down by the man. And I was like, what a great line. What a great line to end that one. What a great fucking line.
Yeah. I like, now that you get to a point in life sometimes where you are a good person and you do things by the book the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden you find out, oh, there's people that don't like you and think you are what you are not. And you go, well, you know what? Let them think that. I don't have to prove it to them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Becky's doing. And I love this. This legitimately, I didn't like what happened at WrestleMania, but I don't care anymore. I don't care. Yeah. I am absolutely loving what they're doing with Becky and Lyra. And the fact that, like I said, the fact that Lyra is as over as she is with me right now, just because they allowed her to get for 2 weeks, get really good digs in on the mic and actually like talk like a human being and not just as like a stupid babyface. And it worked. It worked because and that, especially that first week where the crowds were chanting her like the fucking bitches that they are. And then halfway through, those chants started fading away. And then she started doing some really good liners. And the crowd was fully on her side at the end when the beatdown happened. It was a great, and to see this consistency. And I don't want to. I think I did say actually 2 weeks ago, this is what Charlotte and Tiffany was supposed to be, or should have been at least.
I would say more along the line, I would say more along the lines of like what should have happened in a build. Because yes, I agree with you. Lyra got over because she cut 2 good promos, but she also got over because she cut those 2 promos on Becky Lynch. That's part of the reason.
And Becky played the role of heel trying to get babyface over.
Correct.
And succeeded in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this is not, I'm not saying this as a negative to the person, but if this is her against Ivy Nile, it's not hitting the same. But the fact that it's Becky Lynch is one of the main reasons why it hits the way it hits. So when people sit there and say, Becky's above this, or she shouldn't be fighting for the IC title, she shouldn't be wanting to win the IC title, she's above this. This is when you are a veteran like Becky Lynch, when you're not involved in world title type stuff, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be having great feuds, great matches, win or lose, and elevating people. Because Lyra Valkyria has been elevated to a star in the last 3 weeks. Like a legitimate star. And that is because she's been going against Becky Lynch. And because she's great, obviously. Duh, she's very good. Clearly. Very, very good. Why wasn't she talking more?
Yeah, right.
All right. We go back over to Backlash. The next match was a singles match for the IC title on the men's side of things. And it was Dominic Mysterio defeating Penta in this match. I thought this was a good match. This was the shortest match on the show. But I thought it was a pretty good match. There was some stuff that went down in this match, obviously. But Drew, you know, we've had a lot to say about the IC title match. I very much enjoyed this match. It was quick, and there was obviously some shenanigans with the Judgment Day and Grande Americano. But all in all, I thought this was really good.
Yeah, this was too short, this match.
It was very short. It was under 10 minutes. It was the only match on the card that was under 10 minutes. I think it was 9 minutes. It was 9 minutes and 20 seconds, and the next shortest match was 14 minutes.
Yeah. I don't. I'm just like, yeah, I kind of just, I'm pretty much, I just want this Judgment Day implosion to happen already. You know, Finn made that face behind Dom, and like, okay, you know, they're doing how long they stretched out the Damien and Finn thing. It's like, all right, we don't have to do that again. Let's just get it over with. The Destroyer on Carlito. Ooh, that was crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, you know.
Not the only Destroyer we saw from Penta. But no, it was really good. It was really good. That Destroyer that he hit on Carlito was very, very good. And there was some shenanigans at the end of the match. Obviously, the numbers game came into play here and helped Dom win. But all in all, I agree. I thought it was a little too short for my liking, but I thought for what we got, it was a good match. And they kind of teased some stuff with both these guys, because on Raw, we saw Chad Gable go one-on-one with Penta, which was we've seen this match before. This was a rematch of the debut match for Penta against Chad Gable on Raw, and I thought this match was even better than the debut match they had on Raw. This match was excellent. On Raw.
I'm waiting for somebody to be like, okay, so fine, Chad Gable, you want to be buddies with El Grande Americano?
Why haven't they been
totally
putting a tag match or against each other?
This is what I'm like, okay, so you and your pal El Grande Americano against me and whomever. And I'm just, why hasn't that happened yet?
Yeah. I don't disagree.
I think it's going to happen soon.
Yeah. So we saw that on Raw. We had the Chad Gable and the Penta thing. So we're just going to go through kind of most of the Judgment Day stuff now, because we talked about them. So that happens. Penta did get the victory over Gable with a Mexican Destroyer, and Gable took that thing. Oh, why is Chad Gable just so good at everything? But yeah, so that happened. We had a backstage segment involving the Judgment Day where Dominic Mysterio is getting off the phone with Liv Morgan. And he's like, Liv's doing great. He's like, but I'm confused. She said good morning. And it's nighttime. And JD McDonough was like, come on, dude. You never heard of I agree, Maria. I agree. He was like, come on, you've heard of time zones. And Dom just kind of shrugs it off, whatever. And then Finn Balor. And then Dom kind of, I don't think he confronts him or anything, but Dom asks Finn, like, hey, you weren't that helpful. Like, you weren't helpful enough at Backlash. Like, what's going on? And Balor is just like, nah, all's well that ends well, man. Like, we're good. Everything ended up the way it was supposed to go. And I'm going to take care of AJ Styles a little bit later tonight. Like, it was nothing, man. You're thinking too much. And Dom is kind of like, all right, yeah. And then that was kind of it. So we're still leaning into it. I will say, I understand how they portray Dom. If you don't know what time zones are, you're an idiot. Like, not just like, no, that's a different kind of idiot. Like, you're an idiot. Like, you never went to school. You learn time zones on like the third. No, I don't care that Dom's an idiot. That's a different. Idiots know time zones. I know plenty of people that are idiots that know time zones. That's a little bit too much, making Dom look like a clown to me. A smidge. Now it's a passing thing. It's whatever. They're never gonna reference it again, most likely.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, okay, like that's a little much to me. Like, yes, he's an idiot, but he's not. Doesn't know time zones. Motherfucker travels every week for his job.
Right. Well,
What do you think
that's
What do you think he
the
shows up at
rib,
the airport?
you know, I don't know if it's a backstage rib or if it's something that's
Come on.
just.
Come on, that's a little much.
It is very. You travel all over the world. Obviously, you should
a
know
little-
that it's
yeah.
not. It's nighttime somewhere else when it's daytime.
Maria, that might be the only other guy that might not. I don't know. But that would make more sense to me that R-Truth wouldn't know what those are than Dom. Because they portray R-Truth as being a real idiot. They don't portray Dom like that.
We're gonna
He's
get
just
into that.
He's a sleazy slime ball. Anyway, the next match at Backlash was Gunther defeating Pat McAfee by technical submission. This match was better than everybody assumed it was going to be. And if you didn't think so, you are a liar. So this match was good. Gunther beat
I think
the
Michael
absolute
Cole's
piss.
role in it was the best.
Michael Cole was excellent in this. I thought the whole thing was excellent. I would have reversed the times. I would have had this match go 9 minutes and 20 seconds and had Dom and Penta go 14 minutes. I feel like I would have swapped that and had this been the shortest match on the show. The one thing that my only critique of this match is that when Gunther locked in the sleeper hold, Pat McAfee should have never hulked up or whatever you want to call it and like got back to. Now it ended up not meaning anything and he just won immediately after that. Pat McAfee should never in a million years be strong enough or hulking up enough to get out of a sleeper from Gunther. That should have never happened. That was my only flaw of this match. I thought this match was planned out the way it should have been. McAfee surprising Gunther a little bit a few times throughout the match, but for the most part, Gunther manhandling and basically toying with McAfee for 75% of the match, beating the shit out of him. McAfee had a bloodshot eye because of it. His chest was black. It went the way it should. Gunther winning rather easily at the end of the day. Just went a little bit long. Like I said, I would have switched the times with the Dom Penta match and this one. I felt like this should have been the slowest. Goldberg, brother.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's
another
next.
really exciting match.
That's what's next. So you see, I enjoy. We this has been established. Drew doesn't like fun, so it is what it is. But we've already established this. Like I can look at wrestling and be like, it's fucking pro wrestling. Like why do we not like things? For the most part, But yeah. So like I said at the beginning, before I hand it over to Drew, this match was better.
That's okay.
This match was better. This match was better than I even expected. And I had kind of positive expectations of this match. This match was better than I thought. This match was better than everybody thought. And if you don't think so, you have an agenda or you're lying. So I will let Drew go because Drew has an agenda. That's why he's going to say he didn't like this match, even though this match was good.
Anything that was done by this match was completely negated on Raw when he just showed up and didn't sell a single goddamn thing.
That I'm not going to disagree with. But we're not talking about that right now. We're talking about the match.
Yes, the match, which was
good.
Seen as
that was good.
Going up against him and Jey Uso, which people hated because it was Jey Uso. And how is Jey Uso doing the defeating Gunther and putting Gunther in whatever and all this shit. And then the follow-up to Jey Uso was Pat McAfee, whom, like I said before, the tribalist dorks and douchebags on Twitter who say that this is comparable to Nigel McGuinness.
No, that's not true. That's not true at all.
Right, it's not true. And the hulking thing. And see, the problem with when you say, "Oh, it was a better match than I expected," and actually it was really good, and
I
people
thought
have
it was a good, entertaining match.
it gives them the right to do it again.
Yeah, and if they want to, I agree with you, Tight Spot. Sometimes we just need to tell the IWC to just shut up. Yeah, again, listen, Pat McAfee, besides the match with Vince at WrestleMania, Pat McAfee has had 4 or 5 career matches since he's been in WWE. And guess what? They've all been pretty good. Now it's few and far between. He doesn't need to wrestle all the time at all. You want to throw him in the Rumble every year for a spot? Fine. I don't give a shit about that. But like, he does.
What were his matches? I know that was Adam Cole.
He fought
was
Adam
the first
Cole.
one.
Then he was in War Games against the Undisputed Era. Then he had the match at WrestleMania against Austin Theory, which was a decent match. And then the Vince thing was awful. He got squashed by fucking an 80-year-old. Yeah, so that was stupid. And then this match with Gunther, which was good. So what's going on, Santana? Hell yeah, Santana Jack. Wait a minute. Is that true? I'm kidding.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. But welcome in. Welcome in. But here's my thing. Do I think Pat McAfee needs to be wrestling every month at PLEs? Absolutely not.
Well, he's not going to.
And he's not going to be. But if you want to have him in a match once a year, put him in a program where, and this I actually enjoyed because this didn't start with Gunther and Pat McAfee. It started with Gunther trying to bully Michael Cole. And Pat McAfee said, no, not on my watch, man. No, you're not doing that.
I mean, I liked the Pat standing up.
Yeah,
for Michael Cole.
And I agree. I loved the Michael Cole insertion in this match as well. I thought it was, again, I thought for what it was, which everyone knew Gunther was going to win. Everyone knew it was going to kind of be a nothing match. I thought for what it was and what we saw, and with the Michael Cole, I thought it was an entertaining. Look at, is it a fucking 2-star match? Maybe. I don't know. But like, it was an entertaining, absolutely not. Yeah, it was an entertaining. No. Yeah, that second person can fucking be shot to the moon, as far as I'm concerned. But like, it was an entertaining thing. Now, again, I said it was a little long to me, and I didn't appreciate Pat McAfee fucking getting to his feet after Gunther.
This was it was like very similar to the Hurt Syndicate Outrunners deal. It was like, it's too long of a match.
This was more competitive, at least. I felt like
it's too long of a match. And it should have basically been like a one move surprise. Oh shit, the heel underestimated the babyface, and then the heel fucking dominates the shit out of them and wins the match.
Yeah.
That's what Hurt Syndicate and Outrunners should have been. That's what this should have been. Yeah. Neither of them were that.
No. I mean, I think Gunther dominated 75% of this match. And that is what it is. I'll tell you what, I enjoyed this match way more than I enjoyed the main event we're going to be talking about in a minute.
Oh
so,
God. But this is what I want to ask you. Why is this okay? But when Gunther was doubting himself against Damian Priest, that was bad.
I never said that was bad.
Yes, you did.
Damian Priest.
You said you didn't when they were changing up the character to Gunther all of a sudden being a scaredy cat little bitch.
Yeah, because he should never be.
So why is that okay, but this is not? Well, why was that not okay, but this is?
Because Gunther wasn't a scaredy little bitch.
But he needed. I will say it was.
He wanted to destroy Pat McAfee, which he did.
But he couldn't destroy him as definitively as he could destroy a Damian Priest.
You don't. You think this match was less competitive than the match he had with Damian Priest? I mean, more. You think the match with McAfee was more competitive?
The problem is that it was less competitive. However,
as it should be.
less competitive should mean you squash the person.
No. Doesn't always have to be a squash. Again, you have to take it with how they view. Again, how you view Pat McAfee is not the same as how WWE views Pat McAfee.
Well, clearly.
Yes, so you got to get that out of your fucking head, Drew.
Yeah, but I can't not have a personal opinion about it.
No, an opinion is different. You can have an opinion about it, but Pat McAfee is not going to get squashed. They have never presented him as a guy that's going to get squashed.
Well, except in a match with Vince.
Well, that's a different scenario. But you know, he almost beat Adam. They have never presented him as that guy. So why would you expect that to happen? It's just not going to happen. So, like, I think people need to stop complaining when you're not the fucking booker. You don't have the pencil.
No.
You can complain about what happens and have constructive criticism. Like I said, the match was too long. But if you went in there thinking that Pat McAfee was going to lose in 3 minutes, you're causing that for yourself, man. You're causing your own. Like, you're insane if you think that. And I'm as pro Gunther as it gets. It's just crazy. Like, it is what it is.
I don't know. We're splitting the chat even. We got 2 people agreeing with you, 2 people agreeing with me. It's I just see it as stop this shit. You can have. I don't have a problem with Pat McAfee having a match.
Yeah,
but Pat McAfee should not go. If it was wrong opponent, I'll say if this was Pat McAfee versus like Austin Theory, or Pat McAfee versus, I don't know. I'm just thinking of like Gunther is of a higher stratosphere as a wrestler and on the pecking order of WWE. I feel there's been a very small amount of time that Gunther has been on the main roster, or actually, there's been a small amount of time that Gunther has been in WWE, where he's not been a world title holder or
Obviously.
a main, an upper card championship holder, like an IC title or whatever he was in the UK, whatever he had as the UK champion.
He was the UK champion.
It was the top championship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was the main. Yeah, it was the world heavyweight. And yeah, after the match, Gunther, Michael Cole, and Pat were both in the ring. And Gunther he said, like, all right, like, good effort. Like, I didn't expect that from you. Kind of. He didn't shake his hand or anything, but he kind of said, like, hey, you fought better than I thought you would. Like, good on you, type of thing. And then he kind of left. And that was that.
Even though, Michael Cole kind of helped him a little bit. But
yeah. Look at the Michael Cole stuff it's tremendous.
That was the entertaining part of this is Michael Cole.
Yeah. And I thought, again, that's why I thought it was good. I thought I was sports entertained. With this match.
I wasn't, but whatever.
That is like I said, that is your agenda, my man. That is your agenda.
I don't know what agenda it is. It's just
when it comes to Pat McAfee, when it comes to Logan Paul, when it comes to people, no matter what, I feel like.
Also agree with Affiliate there.
Okay. A lot of the other wrestlers on the show don't have millions and millions of followers like Pat McAfee does.
That's not something that I care about.
Okay, but you are not running a business.
Okay.
WWE, business,
I
cares
don't
about
need to act like I give a shit about their business because it doesn't involve me at all.
That's fine.
I don't make money from them. They don't pay me. I don't have stock. I'm not a shareholder. I'm not in the business at all. I'm just a guy with a podcast talking.
Yes. And you are allowed to have your thing. But when you sit like, you can have that opinion that you don't think McAfee should be taking the spot of a regular talent, but you're looking at it from a very one-sided view of it. And you have to understand that Pat McAfee has a gigantic following. There's a reason why when his entrance music hits at every live show, he has one of the top 5 pops of the night, no matter where they are. I don't feel that way personally about Pat McAfee. It's an Indianapolis Colt, for crying out loud. It's disgusting. I don't feel that way about Pat McAfee, but I completely understand why he's put in these situations because he makes money for WWE. And at the end of the day, that is what WWE cares about. So I don't.
Yeah, right. That's what WWE cares about. You don't need to care about that.
And I don't care about it, but I'm also not going to sit here and just everything that these people do say it's shitty just because I don't like them. Like some people do. That's all. That's where I have a problem with it. That's where I have a problem with it.
Well, I'm just not, I wasn't entertained by this.
Yes, but where I push back on
I've been entertained by Pat McAfee before.
Yeah, all right, and that's fine. But my pushback on you is I feel like you were not entertained because you have a certain opinion of one of the fellas. Same reason why, and again, we're not going to talk about him really tonight, but Pat McAfee could have what is considered by everybody to be the greatest not Pat McAfee. Logan Paul could end up having one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time, no debate, and you would come on here and say it sucked.
No, I would not say that it sucked.
Yes,
I don't like him, and I make that known.
And that is fine, but you would come on here and say, no, I didn't like it.
I have been entertained by Logan Paul.
But that is where I have a problem. That is where I have a problem, because I feel like a lot of the times, not just with you, but with everybody, you take your personal feelings and you just don't even objectively look at what you saw because you don't like somebody. And it's like, I get it. You cannot like somebody, but still be objective and say it was good, that what happened was good. What we saw was good and entertaining. And I feel like,
well, but this part of it is not objective.
Maybe
WWE using Pat in the way that they use him and him making money for them, that's objective. The match, not objective. That is very subjective.
Could be. I don't know. I thought it was good. So, I mean, and you also know that obviously if you're working with me, my opinion is kind of better than everybody else's. So, yeah, I know that's a kind of an understood thing. Pluggo understands it. He gets frustrated. You do. But I'm like, me, everyone else is kind of, we're cool. Like, we get that. This is something we agreed on.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Of all people, Scott agrees with me, for crying out loud. Of all people.
Okay. I knew that they weren't going to squash McAfee, but because I knew that, I was just like, okay, it's going to be a match and it's going to be competitive in some sense.
Yeah.
And it even wasn't that competitive because Michael Cole was helping out a couple of times. Yeah. So it's just, okay, whatever. They're going to do what they do. And I already know going into it that it's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get shocked and surprised and I go, oh, okay, you know what? Fine. If it was a squash match or not a direct squash, but like I said, it starts by Gunther dominating him, and then all of a sudden he turns it into some really cool wrestling move or something, and then Gunther's like acts shocked, like, oh my god, I underestimated him, and then boom, he just dominates. It's like, oh, you thought you were going to get some shine from this? No, this isn't about you. This is about me. If it happened that way, I would have been shocked, and I would have came here and I said, you know what? I was entertained by that.
Yeah.
Because that's what it should have been. But it wasn't that, because WWE views celebrities and money-making strategies as a higher tiered thing than standard wrestling.
They've always felt that way. Lawrence Taylor, the football player, main evented WrestleMania 11. It's always been like that for the history of time. If you're a big-time celebrity,
that's what they do.
Yeah, so I don't know why we're upset or shocked by it at all.
That is their business strategy. And objectively, you cannot say something different than that.
Yeah, and
subjectively, you can shit on the match if you didn't like it.
And I would argue that when you're talking about Pat McAfee, yes, he is a celebrity, but he's been with like he's there almost every week doing commentary for like 3 years now at this point. So like, yeah, he's technically a celebrity, but he works for WWE. He's not just, it's not like Bad Bunny type celebrity where he, it's a dip. Yes and no. I think McAfee's
Well,
a
he's
little
a
bit different
celebrity
situation.
non-wrestler.
Yeah, but he's there he's an employee of WWE. He's an employee.
But
of
he's
WWE.
still a celebrity.
Yes, of course. But it's not like he's a celebrity that just he's there he works for the company every week on the show.
Right, and he does his other football things
Yes.
and
I just-
his own show. And
Yeah, I view him as a different type of celebrity than when a Bad Bunny hops in. Or like I view Logan Paul differently now too, because Logan Paul is very much a celebrity still, but he's a contracted there all the time, full-time WWE wrestler now. So are we still
but
viewing him
Logan
as a
doesn't do
celebrity?
TV and movie.
I mean, but he's still a celebrity. He was a celebrity before he got to WWE.
He's kind of he's more. Well, no, yes, I agree with that. But he's more of like online.
No, yeah, I don't care about that. But
Like
Pat
the show speed.
But Pat
type of
McAfee was a
celebrity.
football player. He has he's on TV because he had a radio show that got picked up by ESPN to be on TV. Like it's not like he's a TV star. Pat McAfee was a punter in the NFL, and then he got a radio show with Barstool that was wildly popular because he's a charismatic guy. And he talks about sports in a way that you didn't really normally hear about sports, like swearing and talking about adult shit. And ESPN picked up so that's why he wasn't a TV star or a movie star. He's a fucking football player that had a radio show that is entertaining because he's an entertaining guy. Do I dig him all the time? No. But it's not horrifically unlike. It's two different mediums, but him and Logan Paul are much more similar in the way they're celebrities than you would think. It's not like McAfee was a movie star. It's not Hugh Jackman popping in here. You know what I mean? But anyway, too much time.
But it's established that Logan Paul is a celebrity wrestler and Pat McAfee is a celebrity commentator.
Commentator, yes. That's where I will say that is true. But I view both of those guys, they are celebrities, but they are there enough and yeah, he was a punter. I agree with you, Fernando. Barely a football player. Great punter. Don't get me wrong, but you're not a real football player if you're a punter. Sorry, I hate to tell you. And Ophelia, it got 5 more minutes than the Dom Penta match. The Fatal 4-Way had more time than McAfee and Gunther. McAfee and Gunther was the second shortest match of the show to Dom and Penta. All right, now let's talk about the longest match on the show, which was the main event. John Cena, Randy Orton, everything before the match ruled. The entrance, Randy in his hometown, John Cena, them standing across the ring from each other, what we think is one last time. All that stuff hit the feels. The crowd was there. Randy's hometown. All that stuff checked all the boxes for me, Drew. I was like, all right, this feels massive. It's the last time. It's these guys, end of an era type shit. And then they had this match. And there were, I would agree with you, Sandy, it was better than Cody and Cena. That's not a high bar, though. That's not a high bar. Yeah, this match was it was long. It almost went out. It was 27 minutes and 50 seconds long. Almost 28 minutes long, this match.
Wow.
Slow, plodding, bunch of stuff going on. The highlight of the match didn't even really involve Cena and Orton. It was when Orton just fucking RKO'd everybody.
Right.
R-Truth was, he had a thing in there. And we can talk about the press conference afterwards as well. Yeah, I mean, listen, it is what it is. I thought this match happened. It was fine. I don't think it was bad, but I think it was way too long and it was just average. I think it was average.
I'm not a fan of the direction right now. Yeah. This is going to be a hot take.
I don't
And
know if
I
it'll be. I
totally,
think a lot of people might be feeling the way you feel. If I think you're going to say what you say.
I don't know if it's. I don't think it's what you think it is.
Okay.
I'm gonna say probably about since 2020. I don't really care about the R-Truth character anymore. I'm not into the dumbass.
Well, we've
stupid
already
guy
established
that
you
he
don't.
is.
You don't like fun. We've already established you don't like fun.
No, but I like it in moderation, but it's literally him every time he's on camera. Like, you are what is he, like 52, 53 years old?
He is
And
53. Yes.
and like they do with Dom, like the time zone thing, but then you said, oh well, I would expect this of R-Truth. And R-Truth, no, you shouldn't expect it from R-Truth. It's about time that we just drop this already. I like him personally. I like R-Truth. I've never hated him. I've never disliked him. I'm just like, I'm kind of burnt out on the stupid guy gimmick. Like,
Okay.
And I feel like maybe that might be ending now in some way.
Well, they're going to be fighting in a few weeks at Saturday night's main event. That's the rumor.
Right. Yeah. So, because
Next Saturday, I believe. Next Saturday. Next weekend, we have Saturday night's main event. On that Sunday night, going against each other, we have Double or Nothing and NXT Battleground starting at the same time against each other. So next weekend is a wrestling-filled weekend. But, yeah.
First of all, I want to address, I have to address two things. One is this comment.
I am so against people that say this.
And I agree.
Giving them an
Sandy,
excuse for
it's nothing
shitty
against
matches.
you.
No, we love you, Sandy.
Love you, Sandy. But wrestling is supposed to be good. The goal of a wrestler, when they say that they are going to ruin wrestling, is not to make the story intentionally bad. It is to make you boo them and hope that they lose and watch their matches to watch them lose. It's not to go, oh, well, you're saying it's bad right now, but he said he was going to make it bad.
Yeah, I think that is WWE
ridiculous.
Gaslighting their fans to the extreme for me, where they have convinced some of their fans that these two matches that we've seen John Cena have, which have been terrible, not good. I said average at best forward. I'm giving him that. A lot of people, like the review that I'm reading right now, says John Cena versus Randy Orton was piss poor at best. That's the line. Piss poor. That is giving WWE wrestling fans an excuse to say, well, he said he was going to ruin wrestling, so it's supposed to be this bad. No. It's not supposed to be this bad. That is WWE literally gaslighting you into believing that it's supposed to be this bad. That is what that is.
Why gaslight the fans? Because and some people can disagree with me. That's fine. But there is way more a WWE fan to AEW hate than there is AEW fan to WWE hate. Sorry. It's just, if you don't see it that way, there's something wrong with him. And there's all the little soldiers that wake up in the morning and salute the WWE flag and go on Twitter and shit all over anybody that has a negative opinion about anything WWE does. And they know it and they like it.
Yeah. And they lean in because they know that they can book a match however they want to do it. And there are going to be fans that just bend the knee at WWE. And again, we talk about WWE. We like WWE. We watch WWE. But they know that there are people out there that no matter what they do, will sit here and defend them and say it's good, even when it isn't. And they know they have those people that are bending the knee so they can do whatever the fuck they want. And they've given us 2 terrible main events in the last 2 shows. And we've had people on the internet say, well, Cena said he was ruining wrestling, so, okay, well.
And these are the same people who would then shit on the Death Riders in AEW.
Exactly, which we have shit on the Death Riders and AEW about how bad some of those have been. We've come on here and said, that was awful. What the hell was that? Just like I'm saying, what the hell was this going on right now? But the problem is AEW, and again, I don't want to compare because I am not in the comparing business when it comes to these two. But the difference is you will find way more people in AEW, way more AEW fans that will come out and say objectively, yeah, that was really bad. Then you find WWE fans that come out, because there are more WWE fans that will come out and be like, well, it was supposed to be that way. No, it's not. You're supposed to be entertained. That's what you're supposed to be.
Saluting that flag. That's what they're doing.
You're supposed to be entertained. If you are not entertained, then WWE didn't do their job. But they've convinced the majority of the fans that even if something isn't entertaining, it's the way it's supposed to be. Fuck off with that. So that's why I say.
So, like, I was fine with Randy RKOing all the agents and Nick Aldis and whatnot.
Oh, that was fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Then R-Truth gets in the ring.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are we doing? What's going on here? Wait.
You understand. Yeah, you understand.
Now, well, yeah, but like,
R-Truth.
and they were showing, they had been, it's not like it was a surprise because R-Truth was, he had like a sign one week, one SmackDown, I think. And Jimmy, I think like the past 2 weeks in a row, like Jimmy Uso would walk up to Truth backstage at SmackDown and would just be like questioning him, like, why are you? And Truth doing the stupid guy gimmick.
Yep.
And so, like, now, here's the interesting thing about this. What worries me a little bit. Regarding Cena.
Yep.
I don't know if you feel this way, but I'm starting to feel like a lot of people were only genuinely interested in the Cena heel turn because of The Rock.
I think that's more on how they booked it since. It's been such a swing and a miss. In my opinion, the heel turn is one of the all-time great moments ever. The heel turn, that moment, ever since, it has not been what it was supposed. It has not lived up to what we thought, or what I thought it would be since. He's cut good promos. Don't get me wrong. He's cut a few good promos. But I think you hit a leadoff triple there. You hit a leadoff triple. Maybe a leadoff home run to start the game with that heel turn, and they've been fucking no hit since. Because it's not been good, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think it's John Cena's fault. I think the booking of him has been pretty piss poor. I'll use that line from the booking has been piss poor. And I'm not going to be as anti Cena versus R-Truth at Saturday night's main event than Drew probably is. I'm not going to be anti.
No. Actually, I'm not anti.
Are you not anti?
I'm not.
Okay, good. Because I think, in my opinion, and we talked about it, what should have happened is they did the heel turn at Elimination Chamber. That next Monday night, Cena should have been cutting that promo, and R-Truth should have came out at the end of that promo asking John, like, no, explain that to me. No. And Cena should have murdered R-Truth on that Raw right
See,
after
that's
heel
the
turn
thing.
to
The
cement
fact that the
evil
fact
John
that the
Cena.
first time any interaction between Truth and Cena is a fucking press conference, that's ridiculous. If you're gonna do Cena and Truth at a Saturday night's main event, starting it by having him put him through a table at a press conference, that makes no sense to me. That was dumb. Because leading into that moment, post-match, Cena started seeing the light a little bit.
Mhm.
I don't agree with that either, by the way. I liked the presentation of it,
Mhm.
but I think it's too soon for that.
Yeah.
This is what I would have expected at SummerSlam.
Mhm.
But your first title defense, and you're already like looking around like, oh, these people are cheering me.
Mm.
Did I do the wrong thing? A month after, like we'll say 2 months after turning heel, already they're doing that, and then Truth in the press conference shakes you out of it. It's very cinema, in a bad way. I don't. It's like John Cena playing the role of a heel, of a bad guy, and like R-Truth is the one trying to get him out of. It's too cinematic for me. I don't really like that aspect of it.
And I guess that's the thing that kind of and look at he's gonna, again, this was most likely his last time in St. Louis, so he's gonna get those it's John Cena. Regardless of his character, like when he's leaving or after the match in the ring, those crowds are going to be cheering for him because it's the last time they're ever seeing him. So regardless of who his character is, that is the fan saying, hey, John, thanks. Thanks for the last 25 years. You carried the torch here and you were the guy. That's never going to leave. It's never going to leave.
And then to go, okay, so they obviously did that moment at the end of the match just to do the press conference thing.
Yes.
I'm like,
why? Again, I'm not against the match. I'm not against the match at all.
I wasn't. I'm not even against.
Yeah,
I'm not against the match.
You think it's gonna be for the title? No, just a one-on-one. You think they put the title on?
How do they not have it for the title?
Has R-Truth earned a fucking title shot?
Well, no, but I mean, they just give title shots out like.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'd have R-Truth go over, shock the world, have him beat him, and then Cena beat
in a non-title match.
No.
In a title match?
Hell yeah. Fucking shake the world. And then have Cena beat him again on Raw. Just murder him. Win the title back. No, obviously that's not going to happen, but that would be great.
No, that's not going to happen.
Although if I did see some people talking about it on another podcast. If R-Truth did win the world title, he would knock Vince McMahon off as the oldest WWE champion of all time. Which might be something worth it alone. Am I wrong?
I mean, at this point.
He wins it on Saturday, shocks the fucking world. Cena murders him on Monday and wins it back. Obviously not going to happen, duh. Come on, let's be real. But imagine.
No, but.
Fuck it. Fuck
that
it,
would
Drew.
be
Whatever.
Wild.
Who cares? Fuck it. Can you imagine the reaction of the internet community if fucking R-Truth beat John Cena for the world title
on a Saturday night's main event?
Oh, the place would burn. The place would burn. I'd whip my shirt off. I'd be so excited. I'd be like, oh shit. Oh, I can't believe it. Oh, I would lose my mind.
Well, I mean, look.
It's obviously this is 1000% not happening. We're just fucking around.
Not.
But that would be.
Although, like Sandy said, Nikki ASH was world champion.
She won the Money in the Bank, so she had it's not like she just challenged and won the title. She had the Money in the Bank.
Well, that's true. Yeah, she did have Money in the Bank.
It's different.
But yes, I'm just not a fan of the creative direction here. I don't mind Cena and Truth at Saturday Night's main event. I don't mind that.
Yep.
But the way we're getting there, the creative direction around Cena's heel run,
Yeah, it hasn't been
it hasn't been great.
It's had highlights. Don't get me wrong. It hasn't all been bad. It's had highlights, but it's just been kind of. We'll see. But they have this week, like this coming week. Next week is the go home show, so I expect some more stuff. So when we're talking
I'm assuming
next week,
tonight, maybe Truth will say something.
Yeah, I would
night.
say, Sandy, that's too soon, man. That's too soon. Push that back to SummerSlam, and you'll have my blessing. I don't
Punk,
need
Punk is involved with Seth still right now.
Yeah. So my thing is, they're doing the tag match. Well, that's Saturday night's main event. So I need Cena and Punk as the SummerSlam match for me. That is, and I think Punk beats him for the title at SummerSlam. I think Punk would be a perfect guy to beat John Cena for that title. Because Punk having the belt makes sense to me. And if Seth beats Punk for the world title, it's more juicy than I think, because Seth isn't going to fight John Cena.
Well, but this is also
Seth's probably going to fight Jay though, so maybe I don't know.
Well, no, right? Because I was going to say this. Jay is the Raw champion.
Yeah, technically, Cena's the SmackDown champion.
Not that they fucking care about that.
No, and they're supposed to be doing a draft at some point. Not that matters really, but you know, we'll see. We'll see how they go about it, but I don't know. But yeah. So again, listen, I'm still on board. I'm still on board here with the Cena. I like the last real champion gimmick.
I like that.
I like it. I like that.
Coming out to just John Cena and darkness and
yeah,
I
like it. I like all that.
Feel like I'd be fine with him not wearing the regular Cena stuff, though.
That's fair. I just wish they would give him a black shirt. Just give him a black shirt. He's had black shirts before. You can't just give him a black shirt.
Well, I think he had a black shirt.
Yeah, he's had multiple black shirts. Wait, did he wear one on
I think
Saturday?
He did have a black shirt on Sunday.
Yeah, I'm like, just give him a fucking. He's had John Cena black shirts before, even when he was the fucking good guy. John, just give him a black shirt. But anyway, so that happened. So we'll have to see. The things that happened on Raw that weren't involving. We'll kind of shoot through these quickly. We did have a CM Punk promo at the beginning of the show. He talks about how he's pissed at a lot of people, but he's pissed at himself more than anything after he let everybody know that it was a great time to be where he was. I don't even remember where they were. Louisville? Something like that. He talks about Paul Heyman. He calls him, what do you call him? Fat little snake. And then Paul Heyman started talking and he goes, come on out here, Penguin. Where you at, Penguin? Wow. Called him Penguin. Which makes sense because Paul Heyman does look like that. And then he called Seth Rollins Timu CM Punk. That was a good one. So then they come out. Him and Rollins go back and forth on the mic. And then Braun Breaker basically looks like he wants to kill CM Punk. And CM Punk is like, he calls him his little bitch boy or little dog boy or like something like that. Demeans Braun Breaker. So that happened. We talked about Chad Gable and Penta. We talked about the Judgment Day. The Creed brothers and the War Raiders had a match to determine the number one contenders for the tag titles. The Creed brothers won. So we will be getting a Creed brothers versus New Day tag title match somewhere down the line.
Heels and heels. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
You want to talk about another botched heel run?
What? New Day?
New Day.
Again, yes. Well, so we had a thing where, so this is kind of new. Jey Uso came out, was cutting a promo. He was talking about Logan Paul because they're fighting for the world title at Saturday night's main event next week. But Gunther. So people ask, what's next for Gunther? I think we already know what's next for Gunther. Gunther comes out. He says that he talked to Adam Pearce, and after everything that happened at Backlash, that the winner of the Logan Paul Jey Uso match next week at Saturday night's main event, Gunther, will be the challenger, the next challenger for the world heavyweight title.
I don't know if that's going to really end up happening.
So, well, here's my thing. I think it will be Gunther and Jey Uso again at Money in the Bank, and I think that is where we see Goldberg. And I think Goldberg shows up at Money in the Bank, and he costs Gunther. And then that is how we eventually lead to Goldberg versus Gunther, either at Saudi or at
It'll be
SummerSlam.
probably Saudi, the Saudi show.
You think so? You think they'll do his last match in Saudi? Or you think? I would think it would be SummerSlam, wouldn't it?
Well,
Feels like a bigger thing.
isn't it in
The Saudi
July
show is before
sometime?
SummerSlam. Yes.
So I mean, I guess they could do it at SummerSlam.
Maybe they could do more than one match. Like maybe Goldberg gets a couple matches out of Gunther, and one of them is the last one, I guess. It seems like it's one match, though, and I don't know if you would want to do that. I don't know if you would want to do
be one
that,
match, I think.
which I'm fine with. But I'm not sure you want to do that with. No, we're going to end on that here in a few minutes. We've gone very long today. Saudi is the Clash of Champions, so I don't know. Yeah. So maybe it doesn't happen there.
Probably, it'll happen at SummerSlam probably.
Yeah. So that happens. So we find that out.
I mean, it is 2 nights now.
It is.
God help me.
AJ
but
Styles
it is the summer though, so that's right.
Yeah. AJ Styles and Finn Balor had a tremendous match on Monday. Very, very good. AJ Styles turned the calf crusher into a Styles Clash. And it was one of the more remarkable things I've ever seen him do. And he's done a lot of remarkable things. I didn't think you could do that. But at one segment in this match, he had the calf crusher on and he literally just twirled it around into the Styles Clash on Finn Balor. And it was remarkable. But AJ Styles got a pinfall victory because Penta showed up and evened the odds against the Judgment Day. So that happened. And then we were at our main event, and it was a good one. It was Julia and Roxanne Perez versus Iyo Sky and Rhea Ripley. Really, really good tag match. I am very much digging heel Julia, and I'm digging Roxanne and Julia as this kind of unit here. Even though afterwards on a social media thing, maybe that's not happening for that much longer. But this was a very good main event, back and forth. I agree, David. I think it showcased all 4 women. I thought it was excellent. Iyo Sky and Rhea Ripley do get the victory as Rhea hits a riptide on Julia for the 1, 2, 3. And then after the match, Rhea celebrates with Iyo. She kind of gives her the belt. They celebrate. She raises her hand, looking at the title. Very, typical. Hey, we're kind of, but not friends, but we're kind of, I'm okay with you, but like, I'm next for that kind of situation. And Iyo accepts all comers for that title. Yeah. So I would assume at Money in the Bank, it'll be Rhea and Iyo. Yeah, she got Rhea to do that, by the way. Rhea did that during the match, which was a fun little spot. This was a really good main event. If you have not seen it, go out of your way to see it. And it was really good. And we're definitely getting Rhea and Iyo, which I am all for. Yeah. And I think that was basically Raw. Obviously, we did a little short abbreviated version because we spent so much time talking about, you know how me and Drew get. We go on our offshoots and start talking about things. 40 minutes on Pat McAfee, things of that nature.
We spent a lot of time on MJF, and
I was going to say the MJF and Hurt Business thing. We spent a lot of time on. So we go down our rabbit holes. So, but that was
now
the rest
we have the
of Raw.
Extra hour to do that.
Yes, I thought Raw was a good show. I thought it was a good show. There was a lot of wrestling.
We covered AEW first, David.
Yes, David, we did AEW in the first half of the show. So we started with AEW today. So once we're over, if you go back to the beginning, the first hour and a half or so was AEW talk. But yeah, so next week, I'll tell you what, Sandy, we don't talk about NXT here, but I am all in on that Miles Bourne kid. I'm all in on that kid.
So
I love that promo. I love that.
I have a hearing loss as well.
Really?
Yes, I do. I do.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So I don't really like publicize this, but you'd think I don't. You might think that I'm lying.
Yeah,
I promise you, I have the paperwork that proves it. And in fact, I was born with a significant hearing loss and wore hearing aids for a long time.
Wow. All right. So I want your opinion on this then, because I love this kid.
Yeah. So that was, I think, maybe the first time anybody knew. I don't know if that was ever publicized that he has hearing loss.
Oh, no. People know. It's been a known thing.
Oh, it has been a known thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's
That. Go ahead.
Go. No, you go. You're the one. No, you go.
Well, yeah, that's surprising to me, and I didn't honestly. I mean, you can. I feel like you do need to have all your senses when you're wrestling in a match, but to not be able to hear a lot of, I don't know. He says
I think it's a partial.
deafness,
I think
right?
it's a partial deaf. Yes, I think it's partial.
That's really cool, and it's something unique that I can directly relate to. Now I have kind of trained myself to work around my hearing loss. I'm a pretty good lip reader. So, if we ever meet in person, and depending on the where we are, if we're at a big event, and so if we go to like a show together and we're talking, you may notice that I'm not like directly looking into your eyes. I may be looking down a little bit, is because I'm looking at your mouth. That's generally what I do when I'm in a big crowd setting and I'm talking to somebody. There's certain pitches and stuff that I am unable to hear. High pitches. I have done many hearing tests where I've gone to.
You still wear hearing aids?
I haven't for a long time. It was it was a stigma to being different. When I was in high school, I was like, hell no, I ain't fucking wearing these.
Oh, yes.
And I kind of carried it into
nightmares.
I carried it into now.
Yeah.
But I have been looking into it again for the first time in a very long time. Not that I mean, obviously I would need it for certain things.
So like when you're wearing your headphones now, like you hear everything fine? Or is it okay?
I mean, it's I think with headphones I can hear better, but I think my hearing loss is there's some pitches that I can't pick up, higher pitches. And because I did I don't remember the name of the booth, but there's like a booth that you go into when you do these tests.
Yeah.
And they put headphones on and they do like a pitch thing where like they do like a humming sound.
Yeah.
And they'll raise the pitch of the humming
until you can hear it or not.
And then you say whether you can hear it or not. And there's always a point where I just don't hear. Like, can you hear that? And I have to go, nope, I can't hear that one. So that's and it's more, I think it's worse in my left ear than my right ear, I believe. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's worse in my right. So it's worse in my right ear because when I'm on the phone, I use my left ear and I use my left hand, because everybody always goes like, oh, well, righties use, they lift up the phone with the right ear, with the right hand, they go to the right ear. I can't hear as well on this side. So I am a lefty on the phone.
That's wild. Well, thanks for sharing that. I know that's not, thanks for sharing that. As Sandy said, obviously in the chat too, thanks for sharing. But yeah, that's, I did not know that. We've been friends for a few years now. I did not know that. I loved his promo. On Tuesday. And I was nervous that they were going to have Ethan Page beat him for the number one. I was like, you do not take this away. He cuts that promo. You do not fucking take this away from that kid. But I loved his promo. And I think that to me is one of those things where there are, he says, I have a disability. He says, I'm partially deaf. It affects my speech. It affects the way I talk.
Yeah. My speech also was affected when I was younger.
And he goes, I don't want to just be known as the deaf kid. I want to be judged by my ability, not my disability. And that's what everyone with a disability wants to be judged by. And he cuts that promo, and it's one of those things where it's like, you hear that and you're like, I knew he was deaf, and I've heard him talking before on the show. And like, you can hear it in his speech that, it, not all deaf people sound the same, but people that I have encountered that had hearing issues or deaf, you do have that kind of sounding voice when you talk, like he sounds,
Now I don't sound like him. Like you can hear that I sound like a normal speaker when I speak, but that's because I went through, I won't say like rigorous. It wasn't like hardcore, but I did have a speech impediment as well as a result of my hearing when I was young. My S sounds would sound very like shh. I was more like a shh S sounder.
Yeah.
Because that was what I had interpreted growing up until they found out that I had a hearing loss, and then we went through the whole thing. So, I did have speech impediment, so I 100%. It's weird because I usually just see me being gay. I really see more of that, like the Anthony Bowens of the world as representation for me.
Yeah.
Or somebody who's right below me, right
our
here,
current champion, the Rhinestone Cowboy, baby.
But which, by the way, this is an awesome picture.
Oh,
I love
tremendous.
this render right here. This is tremendous.
So good.
But I now can use my hearing with Miles Bourne as there's representation there as well, and it is nice to like we just had one-legged guy wrestle on Dynamite last. It's nice that disability is as well, besides the LGBTQ community. It is good to see a one-legged man can wrestle. Somebody with hearing loss can wrestle. Other disabilities out there, I'm sure there's probably a partially blind person that wrestles.
Maybe.
So it is nice. It's really great to see that representation.
Yeah. And he's good. He's not just there because he is deaf and they want to have, he's good. He looks exactly like a young Randy Orton. Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
When you see him in his wrestling gear, you're like, holy shit. That looks like 2009 Randy Orton. Like, what the hell? But he's good, man. And that promo that he cut, that was really, that was one of those things where I've been watching wrestling for a long time and I'm jaded about certain shit. But I was watching that promo on Tuesday and I felt it. I was like, oh man, that's good. That's like, I want to root for this guy. And not because I feel bad for him because he's deaf. Not that way. Like, I want to root for him because that's going to mean a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And he's not going to beat Obafemi. He's not. But he's going to have a great fucking match with Obafemi. And I think that guy's a future star. And I think he will be a world champion in NXT and on the main roster at some point. He has everything it takes. He's great in the ring, can clearly cut a good promo regardless of his disability. Clearly. I'm all in on that kid. That promo, I was kind of all in on him before because I like that whole group, the No Quarter Catch crew. I like everybody in there. That promo on Tuesday, I'm in on that kid. I think, I think he can be a special guy, and I think they're in more than one way. But all right, we've gone very, very long today. Drew needs to go to work, for crying out loud. So we got to get out of here. We appreciate everybody hanging tough with us for this long, extended, firmly inked today. We will be back here next Thursday, 9 a.m. We'll be talking about the go-home show, the preview for Double or Nothing. We'll be talking about the preview for Saturday night's main event. There is an NXT PLE as well. Next weekend is loaded. Loaded.
We have a lot of stuff to cover.
A lot of stuff to cover next week. So we'll be back bright and early next Thursday, 9 a.m. I will be back here tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, the flagship show with Pluggo, Between Two Beards. We have, I don't know if you saw this in the Slack, Drew, or on the pro. We have a band.
You have a special guest.
Yeah, we have a band joining us tonight. They're going to be joining us at 9:00. So they'll be joining us for the second hour. They're called the Foleys. and they are a punk group based out in Indiana. They are a punk group that is inspired by Mick Foley.
Really cool.
Yep. Yep. So they're going to be on with us tonight. So we'll talk more Backlash. We're going to talk John Cena, R-Truth. We're going to talk some AEW, and then we have the Foleys on, and we'll be talking about, their band, obviously getting a background on them, but they still watch wrestling as well. So we'll be diving into some wrestling banter with them again. And if you want to hear that angry Boston song tonight,
Okay, so I just
tune
want
in.
to.
Because your boy's going to have some shit to say at first.
I just want to take the opportunity now to publicly apologize to Pluggo if I was not supposed to play that song.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm obsessed with that, and I watched it so many times after last week's Beards. I just spam because so what that's when I, by the way, we're going to talk off air about this because I do need to get my computer fixed because that whole thing with me not being able to see videos just randomly happened out of nowhere.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it was because of an update, and I don't know. You're gonna have to help me because I don't know what I had.
Okay.
That I don't have anymore, that I can't play it. So we'll talk about that off air. But yeah, so you can find me at the Drew Nicholas on Twitter and Blue Sky. I try to be more active on Blue Sky lately. It's just I got overstimulated with all the social media apps, and I really just stick to Twitter for the most part because that's where everybody is that I know for the most part. So, but I'm trying to break into Blue Sky as well. So, yes, you can find me there and on the Roundtable Pro Wrestling Podcast. We do trivias on Wednesday. We do our 2K GM series on Fridays. Really fun. We have the last couple of weeks going there. I don't think we're doing it this Friday, but we got to get back into it. So follow us there, and that's it for me.
Hell yeah. Besides everything I do here on Love Wrestling, you can catch me over on Body Slam on Monday nights after Raw, me and Corey Hayes for the Raw Dogs post show. I wasn't on the show last night because I had some real life work and things to do. But on Wednesday nights after Dynamite, you can catch me on Dynamite Up over on bodyslam.net as well with my pal Jose Gonzalez, Jose on the air. And then I don't know if you've seen the whispers or heard the buzz, but there, at the beginning of June, there's a nice little new platform starting called The Hive with a good group of people. And we're going to be starting to do a couple shows a week over there with my pal CJ. So we got some stuff coming up, some stuff to check us out.
I love CJ.
CJ's rules. So we're going to be doing a wrestling show every week, and we're going to be doing a sports show every week, me and CJ. So go follow The Hive over on social media. You can find all that. We launch June 2nd. So, a couple weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, beginning of June. So it should be a good time. So until then, appreciate everybody hanging in for the long haul today. Drew and I will see you next Thursday at 9 a.m. And until then, y'all know the drill. Peace.